with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios, Bridgestone Arena tonight. The Predators take on the best team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins, in town at 7 o'clock. I am going to the game. Guess who I'm going to the game with, Ian?
Who's that?
Adam Vingan.
Wow, Vingan. Fun. As a fan, huh?
Yeah, Adam Vingan as a fan. Going to the game with Vingan. I'm sure he loves the fact that I am blasting that info out. But the other night I was talking about the game, and Vingan texted me, and he said, how would you like to take me to the Bruins game? And I honestly hadn't asked anybody if they wanted to go, and I was like, you are in. So Vingan and I are going to the game, which means tons of skepticism will be flowing from our section.
Just a guy's night.
Assume.
Oh, sounds fun.
Oh, I know. I bet that Vingan, because he doesn't, cover the team on like a daily basis, I bet Vingan can't convince his wife that he can go to the game to watch, but he can if it's like I'm going to the game with Jared. So I don't know. That's his business, not mine. So I wanted to start on Bill Polian. Bill Polian, Hall of Fame general manager with the Indianapolis Colts, we know with Peyton Manning all those years, but also with the Buffalo Bills. And in his tenure, Bill Polian had 2 franchise quarterbacks. He got lucky with Peyton Manning, but he not only found Jim Kelly and drafted Jim Kelly in the first round of the 83 draft, but he had to convince Jim Kelly to come to Buffalo when Jim Kelly from Miami said he was never going to play in Buffalo. And he went to the USFL and he played in Houston. And so Bill Polian had to work his magic in order to get Jim Kelly to be his quarterback, because his other option was Frank Reich. Bill Polian was on SiriusXM NFL Radio talking about quarterbacks in this league and admitting something that I think deep down inside we probably already knew, but Patrick Mahomes has made it more obvious. The difference between if you have the guy and you don't have the guy.
If you have that guy, you have a better than even chance with good management and good coaching to make it to the promised land, to the big dance. If you don't have that guy, everything else has to be perfect, including the alignment of the stars in terms of injuries and schedule and all that kind of thing, in order for you to make it to the promised land. It's that simple.
And he's not wrong. And that is where the Titans find themselves. Last year, this time, when Aaron Rodgers decided he wanted to go back to the Green Bay Packers, and we thought, and I say we, I guess I don't want to speak for Caroline, I thought Russell Wilson was an elite quarterback, and he got traded to the Denver Broncos. I put my head in my hands, and I said, this is it. Because Ryan Tannehill can't get you to the promised land. If everything goes to plan, like Bill Polian said right there, then the Titans have a chance to go to the promised land. But it is absolutely everything that has to go right. You have to have a good head coach. Titans have that. You have to hit on your draft picks. You have to sign appropriately for free agents. You can't let Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis walk out the door and turn around and trade for Julio Jones and have him play in a third of the games. You're screwed. You can't do it. You can't bring in Robert Woods and have him drop the ball on every important third down. You have to make sure you get a fair schedule. And by fair, I mean good/easy. Philadelphia ended up playing the AFC South this year. Philadelphia got no elite quarterbacks except for Aaron Rodgers. And not only that, Philadelphia, unlike the 49ers who had to play Kansas City during the regular season, they didn't even have to play the 49ers until they got to the conference championship game. And I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles. But I'm telling you, if you don't have Patrick Mahomes, the stars absolutely, positively have to align for your team. As a Titans fan, I'm tired of wanting the stars to align every year. I'm so tired of how if you're going to do this, you're going to have everything go right. And as a Titan fan, I'm resigned to the fact that I believe that year was last year. That the 2021 season, not this past season, but the 2021 season, the number one seed in the AFC, that the stars were aligning for the Titans. A matchup, Kansas City is the Titans are a bad matchup for Kansas City. Vrabel proved that when they went on the road on Sunday Night Football, and they almost took them down with Malik Willis. Jason Anderson, my buddy, Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City, was said on our show at the Super Bowl that Kansas City, we don't want to play Mike Vrabel anymore. And I get it. So you would have had a good matchup with Kansas City, who you'd already smoked at home. The Rams, who you had already smoked in L.A. without Derrick Henry, you would have played in the Super Bowl. There would have been the perfect path last season, but because not everything was right, Tannehill threw 3 interceptions. But I think the bigger story was Arthur Smith had left the year before. Tannehill wasn't the same under Todd Downing. Absolutely, positively, everything has to go right if you don't have that guy. The Rams don't have that guy. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. You want to know how they got to their Super Bowls? Because absolutely everything had to go right, including the worst call in the history of the NFL playoffs in their first NFC Championship game, and a dropped interception in the breadbasket of a 49er in their second NFC Championship game. I like Ryan Tannehill. I think Ryan Tannehill is the second best quarterback this organization, since they moved from Houston, have ever had, and he's closer to the first guy than he is to the third guy. And I'd much rather have Ryan Tannehill than Derek Carr, because I don't think Derek Carr's that guy either. But as a fan, I am tired of looking at my team and thinking, this could be our year if absolutely, positively, everything goes in our favor. Can't have a bad injury. Can't lose out on an A.J. Brown and make a bad trade. You can't do anything wrong if you want to win the Super Bowl in a year that you don't have an elite quarterback. That's why out of the last 10 Super Bowls, 2 guys, Matthew Stafford and Nick Foles, have won the Super Bowl who most likely will not be in Canton. Russell Wilson, we'll see. But Peyton Manning, he's in Canton. Tom Brady, he's going to be in Canton. And when it comes to pure luck and winning the Super Bowl based upon pure luck, think about how Tom Brady, over the years, you could argue luck helped him, the Malcolm Butler interception, and it also hurt him, the David Tyree catch. Bill Polian's right. If you've got the guy, and he would know, because when he was in Buffalo and they had Jim Kelly, and they had a great team around Jim Kelly, but when Bill Polian had Jim Kelly, they went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. That's not an accident. When he had Peyton Manning, they went to the Super Bowl twice. And I think it's fair, and I made this point with Bob, Coach Shoop, earlier this week, when I said that I would go with Manning over Montana, the fact that if Manning didn't have to go through Tom Brady, how many more titles or how many more Super Bowl appearances would Manning have? He already had 4. But how many more would Peyton Manning have had if he didn't have to go through Tom Brady? So here the Titans are right now. They've got a good quarterback. I think they've got, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th best quarterback in the league. And a lot of teams would kill to have the 14th best quarterback in the league, because I see everybody lining up out the door in order to sign Derek Carr. And I don't think Derek Carr's that good, and I don't think Derek Carr's as good as Tannehill. But if you run it back with Tannehill, absolutely everything has to go right. The offensive linemen that you signed this year can't get hurt. And unlike Andy Levitre years ago when the Titans signed him, they have to actually be good. The guy you draft with the 11th overall pick has to be an impact day one player. No Caleb Farley bull crap. You got to have a guy right away who helps this team out. Tim Kelly has to be a good play caller. Jim Schwartz leaving has to not be a big deal. And then the Titans have to get blessed with injuries, which they have not the last 2 years. And that is a very depressing thought when 32 teams exist and only 4 of them, in my opinion, right now have that guy. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Rodgers. And you can argue Rodgers has fallen off that list. Some people want to argue Josh Allen's not on that list. I'm sorry. The Buffalo Bills were bad for 20 years. They get Josh Allen. They missed the playoffs 1 year. They've been in the playoffs every year since. And they're right there with Kansas City. I know they got smoked by Cincinnati in that one game this year, but that doesn't mean that Buffalo's bad or that Buffalo's not going to be back next year. They've got the quarterback. But again, what hurt Buffalo is they lost their coordinator. And maybe that little gap was the difference between being right there with Kansas City and lighting up the scoreboard on offense in that divisional round game last year and getting smoked at home by the Bengals. But those teams have the guy. And I guarantee you, those teams, if they don't get hurt, you'll see Burrow in January next year. You'll see Allen in January. You'll see Mahomes in January. And I think if Rodgers goes to a team that is actually trying to win, I think you'll see Rodgers in January. The rest of the league, some years Baker Mayfield's in January, some years he's not. Some years Ryan Tannehill is in January, some years he's not. Some years Dak Prescott is in January, some years he's not. Jalen Hurts, we'll see. But as a Titan fan, if I owned this football club, I'd be sitting here saying, okay, I've got Tannehill, and I like Tannehill, and I like what Tannehill stands for. But after seeing Patrick Mahomes trade away Tyreek Hill and still win the Super Bowl, I'm thinking, okay, how do I get my own guy like that? Because if I get my own guy like that, for about a 12-year period, I've got a shot at the Super Bowl every year. 1 year, things may not go my way. Just like the officiating in the AFC title game to Joe Burrow. But ask yourself, is Joe Burrow going to be back? You know he will be. How do the Titans get that guy? It's time for the Titans to figure out how they get that. They've never had that guy. Even McNair, who I loved, they never had that guy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And you are in a conference with Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. So you have to remember that every time you think about what you want your team to be. Todd McShay had a take yesterday that I'm not totally in favor of, but I'm not completely ruling out either. And if he's right, then it would make sense that the Titans would do something they've reportedly already done. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Stillman and company today. We are live from Bridgestone Arena. Again, the Preds have a big one tonight against the Boston Bruins. I shouldn't say big one. They have one tonight against the Boston Bruins. 615-737-1025. Stillman and company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
Three ball, yes sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
Come out to the 50th Annual National Wild Turkey Federation Convention and Sports Show, February 16th through the 18th at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. Enjoy nightly events, more than 450 vendors, and more. And be sure to join 102.5 The Game this Friday from 2 to 4.
It's Quaz with Little Harpeth, and I'm just having one of our Chicken Scratch American Pilsners. It's one refreshing beer and a good example of the German lagers that we craft right here in Nashville. Chicken Scratch is made with locally sourced raw white corn, giving it a subtle cornbready sweetness. And speaking of sweetness, Chicken Scratch's closest associate goes by the name of Deer Crossing Hellas, also a lager with a light, crisp body and golden color, and it won us a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival. So be on the lookout for our craft lagers. And as always, thank you for supporting our little brewery.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like waterfront property, more like a mosquito farm. Pride of ownership, they're really proud of the DIY job they did. Seller says sell? Really? I thought they just put it on the market for fun. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says don't let this one pass you by, it's probably on wheels. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 1025 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What do you think about the quarterbacks in this draft?
I mean, I missed the memo that little quarterbacks are back in vogue. I missed that. I didn't know. Bryce Young's a really good collegiate quarterback. He's 185 pounds, maybe 190. I don't know. He's under 6 feet. I think it's hard. 70 quarterbacks played this year in the NFL, the most since the strike. That means the durability and the health of these quarterbacks is a question. You take a little guy, that's going to be even more a question.
There you go. That was Michael Lombardi, former NFL general manager, now with VSiN, that was on our show at the Super Bowl saying, whoa, Bryce Young, he's little. Todd McShay has a new mock draft out, and he's got Bryce Young as the #1 quarterback in his class at ESPN. And that's fine. I thought Bryce Young was awesome at Alabama. Now, he is little, but I thought he was awesome at Alabama. C.J. Stroud, nah, and Will Levis, no, as far as did I think they were awesome in college. Well, Todd McShay took it a step further on ESPN yesterday. Listen to who he compares Bryce Young to.
He's a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes. The presence he has in the pocket, the ability to feel pressure coming, the ability to see the whole field and make all the throws with really good touch and timing. He's different than all these other guys. Personally, I would take Bryce Young if I was Chicago. I would do it because I would want Bryce Young because I think he's an upgrade over Justin Fields, and I want his rookie contract so I have 5 years.
Okay. So Todd McShay just said that he thinks Bryce Young is a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes. Now, this is something that used to always piss me off, and maybe I should have been more accepting of this. When Joe Burrow was coming out during the 2020 season, Gary Danielson compared him to Tom Brady. And I remember putting my hands on my head and I said, Tom Brady? Really? We're going to compare a guy to Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback who ever lived. And I love Gary. You know that. But Gary Danielson said, this guy, he's like Tom Brady. I was like, hold up now. Very few people are like Tom Brady. Now, I don't think it's crazy. So I'm not going to say Todd McShay is crazy when he says that Bryce Young is a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes. And I also like Bryce Young. I thought Bryce Young balled out. The 2 games they lost on the last play of the game, Tennessee and LSU, I thought Bryce Young was freaking awesome. I did. But when you compare him to Patrick Mahomes, when you're a draft guru and you say this guy is going to be Patrick Mahomes or a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes, then he better be freaking awesome. Because Patrick Mahomes is freaking awesome. And if you're a general manager and you're sitting there with your owner and you say, this guy is a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes, then the owner should turn to you, the GM, and should say, okay, what does it take for you to get me to the number 1 pick so that I can take this guy? That's if he is a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes. Remember the report that came out a couple of weeks ago, the Bears blog, which is kind of funny to laugh about, but the Bears blog came out and said that 2 teams have reached out to the Bears about the number 1 overall pick, and later followed up and said the Titans were one of the 2 teams that reached out to the Bears. Well, I was very skeptical of the Bears blog. Then when I was at the Super Bowl, I found out who the Bears blog source was. And it made me think that that might be true. Well, if the Titans think what Todd McShay thinks, and they think that Bryce Young is a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes, then there is no price that is too expensive in order to get up to the number 1 pick to take Bryce Young. Now, again, I'm not completely convinced that Bryce Young's that good. I think that's a really high standard to put on somebody. And outside of Andrew Luck, I've never felt that confident about a guy in the draft. I've never felt that confident about Trevor Lawrence. Never felt that confident about Joe Burrow. I have never felt that confident about a guy in the draft since Andrew Luck, where I knew the guy in college is going to be amazing in the pros. So if Bryce Young, if Rand Carthon thinks that Bryce Young is a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes, like was just said there, then I don't care what it takes to get him. I don't care if it's the 11th overall pick. I don't care if it's your first next year. This is realistically what I think it would take in order for the Titans to move up and get that pick. I think it would involve their first-round pick this year at 11, their first-round pick next year, their second-round pick this year, and either their second-round pick next year or their third-round pick this year. And sometimes these general managers, they'd rather take a this-year pick than a next-year pick because they know they'll get to use the this-year pick. That's what it would take. And I'd do it. If you think that he is a smaller version of Mahomes. And what you have that all these other teams don't have is you've got the option to be able to sit him on the bench for a year, which is something I would be interested in doing. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Josh texts in and says, bottom line, some franchises will always have a certain position. Some franchises will always have a star quarterback. The Titans are not one of those franchises, never have, never will, and it's a very depressing feeling. Let me say this. At some point, the Titans are going to have to get that guy. I agree with the texter. As a fan, I feel it in my heart that the idea of the Titans finding a Ben Roethlisberger, and Ben was never the best guy, but Ben had Pittsburgh in contention for 15 years. Finding a Ben Roethlisberger is so distant to me. It's so impossible. And one place that I still can't get over is how I, at one point in my life 3 years ago, thought that Ryan Tannehill, who I knew wasn't an elite quarterback, and you all knew wasn't an elite quarterback, that Ryan Tannehill was a better option for this team than Tom Brady. What was I thinking? What were we thinking? What were they thinking? What was John Gruden thinking when he said, nope, I'm not interested and Tom Brady. I'll roll with Derek Carr. What were you thinking? What were we all thinking? Oh, that's tough. Jeff says, dump Tannehill's salary. Get Hendon Hooker. Let him back up Josh Dobbs. Take the money from Tannehill's contract to fix the offensive line and get a few receivers. It was exciting to watch Dobbs, and he did a good job. We'll win games with him. No, you will not. Josh Dobbs played 2 games for you. He turned the ball over 4 crucially important times. Why? Because he's a backup. That's what backups do. Ryan Tannehill, outside of that Cincinnati game, does not turn the ball over like that. Secondly, you all think that Tannehill's contract is expensive because you care about the cap number, which doesn't matter because you can change that however you want. What really matters is Ryan Tannehill is owed $27 million this year. I heard them talking yesterday on ESPN that Derek Carr may come in at $50 million a season. Now, I don't think Derek Carr is going to come in at $50 million a season. And if I was an owner and the general manager came to me and he said Derek Carr's $50 million a season, I think I'd lose my freaking mind. But $50 million. Tannehill is a better quarterback. Last year alone, and I went into this when I researched this with no opinion, but I went and looked at it. Last year alone, who had the better record? Tannehill. Who had the better completion percentage? Tannehill. Who had the better quarterback rating? Tannehill. Who had the better touchdown to interception ratio? Tannehill. Who had better yards per attempt? Bless me. Tannehill. You're talking about $50 million maybe for Carr. Carr's going to sign for $40 million. I don't think he's going to sign for 50. He's going to sign for $40 million. You've got Tannehill at 27. Everybody needs to stop acting like Ryan Tannehill makes too much money. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. So the Predators are playing the best team in the league. After they lost 2 days ago to a team that was actively trying to lose. They've got a tough game on Saturday, and they've got a divisional game at the back end of a back-to-back on Sunday. It could be a bad week for the coach. What does that mean? We'll get to it next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
This week at the Electronic Express President's Day sale, get instant savings of up to 40% off at every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't forget, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop the President's Day sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared with my friends at Hiller. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize. Get a free 55-inch TV, Apple iPad, Solo Stove, or Nintendo Switch when you purchase new whole home generators or select new HVAC systems. Or a free 55-inch TV, Nintendo Switch, or Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of necessary home replacements, so call Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Stop! Are you about to pay too much for new furniture? Then you need to come by Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. Their President's Day sale is going on now. You can buy your new furniture today and get it today, but you do not have to pay today. During Social Furniture's President's Day sale, they have special financing for up to 60 months with no money down. Sectional sofas, mattresses, dining sets, bedroom sets, and more are up to 50% off. At Social Furniture, they say yes, yes, yes.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark again from Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Come join us before any Preds game or concert at Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy one of our prime steaks. Why Bob's, you may ask? Because at Bob's, we not only serve prime beef, but the top 2% of prime beef in the world. Try our certified Japanese A5 or Australian tomahawks. So come see us at Omni before you go to any game and make sure to ask for Chef Mark. Let's go Preds.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Moving isn't fun and can be expensive. With this week's Nashville's Best Deal, save on your next move with Black Tie Moving. Enjoy red carpet treatment along with professional pad wrapping. They will assemble and disassemble your items and save you time. Black Tie delivers a world-class packing service and offers long-distance and local moving options. Right now, get $200 off a half-day move for just $75 or $400 off a full-day move for $150 at thegamenashville.com/deals.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
It looks like your luggage is over 50 pounds. Is there anything you can take out?
Oh, yeah. Let me just toss all these $20 bills.
Great. Let me grab you a trash can.
Stop. Instead of throwing money away, move some clothes into a carry-on. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
On the Friday edition of Caroline, Willie, and D-Mays, we'll recap Predators and their matchup with the Boston Bruins. All of that coming up from 11 to 2 on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Nashville. This is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The next 4 days for the Predators. You got the Bruins tonight, the Panthers on Saturday, and then, of course, the Wild on Sunday. Really key and important 4 days for the Predators. If those 4 days go badly, is John Hines on the hot seat?
You know, the only thing I would say, like I think when you're in a situation like this, Carolyn, nobody feels comfortable. Nobody does. Look, the toughest thing to do in sports is go backwards. Last year, you guys had a really good year. You got into the playoffs. Unfortunately, Saros got hurt, and that led to a pretty lopsided series. But you guys earned your playoff berth last year. Earned it. The toughest thing in sports is to go backwards because now everybody's asked the same questions and feels the same way that you're asking me right now. It feels like a failure. It feels like a step back. So I think everybody in Nashville right now probably feels uncomfortable. For me, the question is, do they just wait out the season and talk about changes then, or do they do anything in season? I'm not sure it makes any sense to do anything in season.
There you go. That was Elliot Friedman today on the Midday Show. And you noticed that even though David Poyle went on Robbie and Rexroad earlier this week and kind of defended John Hines, Caroline asked, if it gets bad this week, is he on the hot seat? And Elliot with everybody's uncomfortable if that happens, a.k.a. he didn't say no. Now, we need to get into a little bit of revisionist history that is being shoved down our throats, but we'll do that in a second. First off, here's the deal. The Predators lost a completely and totally inexcusable game the other night. John Hines has not won anything as the coach here, and we were promised after last season that not only this team was going to make the playoffs this year, but that this team was a couple of pieces away from competing and that they would compete. We didn't believe them, but that was what we were told. And this team right now, as of this writing, has an 18% chance, according to MoneyPuck.com, of making the playoffs. So it's not very likely they're going to make the playoffs. If they lose tonight to the Bruins, and I worry that tonight could get ugly. I watched the Bruins play Dallas the other night on ESPN+, and they busted out in Dallas, where they're pretty good this year. By the way, they fired their coach last year. They were right there with the Predators last year. Fired their coach. Now they're pretty good this year. But in Dallas, they busted out the Let's Go Bruins chants. It is going to be packed with Bruins fans tonight at Bridgestone Arena. And if it gets out of hand tonight, and it could because of the way that they score, if it gets out of hand, ownership could be sitting up in their suites watching this and thinking to themselves, my God, what a mess we have. So that could get bad. Now, we're not going to get somebody in trouble for something they haven't done, but you also have to prepare. Florida is a better team than them. They come in here this weekend, and then they go to Minnesota. And Minnesota, that is a game that if you still have hopes of making the playoffs, which I do not, and I am somewhat rooting against that, of them making the playoffs. But if you have any chance of making it, you got to beat Minnesota. There's a very good chance they do lose all those games. And if they do, your season's essentially over. Now, Elliott said right there that changing the coach wouldn't change anything, but I disagree. First off, I think the coach should have never started the season as the coach, but what I would have done and what they did are two different things. But look at the young players that you have on your team. When John Hines was hired, they promised us that John Hines was a great motivator and was a great developer of young talent. That was something we were told. What young talent has developed here? Let's just go over the first-round picks from the last handful of years, who now should be in the NHL. If you want to argue that Askarov should still be in the AHL, that's fine. Or, Zachary LaRue, who just got a 10-game suspension. And I think it's, what is it, Ian? 9 times in 3 seasons he's been suspended in the
I believe that is correct, yes.
Holy crap. So they drafted Happy Gilmore in the first round a couple of years ago, and he keeps getting suspended. But Dante Fabro, number 1 pick in 2016. Has he gotten any better under Hines? You know the answer to that. Eli Tolvanen, number 1 pick in 2017. Has he gotten any better under Hines? No. Did he get better away from Hines? Yes. And immediately. They didn't have a first-round pick in 2018 because David Poyle thought it'd be a good idea to trade for Ryan Hartman. 2019, Philip Tomasino. Is he getting any better under John Hines? Nope. So if I believe, and I believe in the sugar high that comes from firing the coach, any coach. But in this case, I think that they would be firing a bad coach. So if they fire the bad coach, and let's say they call up the guy from Milwaukee, and the only thing about him, and I don't know him from a jar of Vicks, but the only thing about him, let's just say, is that he's not a total bozo, then I think you're going to have a better team overnight. And I think your team's going to want to play better, and they're going to play harder, and you're going to get the sugar high from the coaching change, and you're going to go from a bad coach to a not bad coach, and maybe your young players can develop a little bit. If they don't win this week, and they are effectively out of the playoff race, there is no reason to keep John Hines. He hasn't won anything. And this is pro sports. So you can't do the, I know he hasn't won anything, but he's a good coach. Willie today on the Midday Show was defending John Hines. This is what Willie said about what he sees from being around the team every day.
I'm around the team every day. I can tell you that a few years ago, you could sense the walls kind of closing in on Peter Laviolette. You could feel it. And eventually it did happen. I don't have that feeling with John Hines. I don't think this is a team that's disconnected from the coaching staff. I think that they are on the same page. It's been a frustrating year. There's no question what Elliott said is right. When you add guys from a team that made it last year and you're trying to get the next step this year and instead you've taken a step back, it's frustrating. And you try to assess, what are the reasons for that? All I can tell you is from where I sit, my opinion is it's not a matter of poor coaching or a disconnect. He's lost the room, things like that, which does happen sometimes. There's no question.
So he said, hey, it's not bad coaching that this team stinks. It doesn't matter. This is pro sports. And I am tired of everybody telling me all the time that in spite of the fact that John Hines has never won anything, that he's a good coach. When they hired him 4 years ago, they said, hey, we know he's never won anything, but trust me, he's a good coach. Then after 3 years of not winning anything, it's still, I know he hasn't won anything, but I promise you he's a good coach. David Poyle banged the table last year at the end of season press conference in which he said, I haven't given John the players. It's my fault. Well, this year, They had a whole documentary in the preseason about we need to have expectations and we need to believe in this team. And all of a sudden, now this team has got an 18% chance of making the playoffs. The young players aren't developing, and they're getting beat by teams that are actively trying to lose, and you are telling me that the coach is not the problem. You are telling me that the coach is a great coach, even though he's had 7 or 8 years of doing this, and he's never won anything. And the standard is not the same for this guy that it was for Laviolette. So I do think John Hines is coaching for his job over the next 4 days. 3 games in 4 days. Tonight against the best team in the league, a Florida team that has superior talent to you at home, and then on the road in a divisional game against a team that if you think you're going to make the playoffs, you have to win. And if the Predators don't win any of those, they need a new coach. And I actually think they might do it. Because at that point, I don't think they'll have anything left to say. They already know they're running out of excuses. But this is where the rubber is meeting the road. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get right back into your phones next. TD at the top of the hour for the TD Power Hour. Stillman and Company. We are live from Bridgestone Arena. Again, that number 615-737-1025. Preds fans, hang out tonight before the game at the Superbook Lounge and Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway with 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials. Plus, enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a great escape. With 35 miles of white sand, there's no better place to get away. So let's explore the secluded beaches of Fort DeSoto or paddle our way around Honeymoon Island. Let's kick back, kayak, and catch crimson sunsets. Let's trade snow boots for bathing suits. Let's make today and tomorrow a beach day. Let's shine. Plan your escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willie Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Yes! Hey, Jim, everything okay? Did you see that catch?
No. Yeah, I'm happy about the touchdown. Just things are kind of off with me and Tiffany.
Hey, what's going on?
It's a little embarrassing, but I'm not making it happen in the bedroom.
I don't know what's going on with me. And now Tiffany's upset. She thinks I'm not attracted to her anymore.
Hey, I had the same problem. But man, I found a secret.
Oh, yeah?
I started going to the Tennessee Men's Clinic for treatments, and boom, our sex life improved. Plus, I started taking testosterone, and I've got loads more energy.
Tell me more. Maybe it'll work for me.
The people at Tennessee Men's Clinic are low testosterone and ED specialists with multiple treatment options. It definitely helped me. And I got to tell you, now I can go the distance every time. Heather says I'm better than ever.
Hey, I'm in. What's their contact info?
You can book appointments online or just give them a call.
Great. Thanks, man. Hey, could you move away from the TV? You can't see.
Your first visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic is only $99. Book your appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny.
That's right.
Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Always the same thing, isn't it? When everybody gets frustrated, you can't trade 20 players. You can make a change in management, you can make a change in coaching, and oftentimes teams do that. I for sure think that's always the easiest road, and I'm not prepared to take an easy road. This is a team responsibility. I mean, you cannot, for me, separate the coaches and the players for where we are right now, and everybody has to do a better job. I mean, as you're talking in this interview, I guarantee you that John Hines and his coaching staff are as frustrated as anybody. But I just don't think that is the problem with our hockey club. I think our players have played better, and again, we have nobody that is having a career year with our team. And again, that's the responsibility. The guys got to step up and play better. I fully believe that we have a team that is capable of making the playoffs. I fully believe that we have individual players that have not played their best this year. So, again, I'm a team guy, and it starts with me, and we all have to be better.
There you go. That was David Poile on Robbie and Rex Road. And you can interpret that however you want, because a couple of years ago he did a radio interview with the Midday 180, and he said that he wasn't thinking about firing Laviolette, and then like 3 days later fired Laviolette. And then gave kind of this, half-ass excuse about it, about how, well, I evaluate everybody on a daily basis. So I don't read anything into what he said about Hines, other than I know he doesn't want to fire Hines because he knows we're all going to hammer him the second he does. And we are, because we were promised that Hines was the guy. And Hines has not won anything. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Caleb and Gallatin, do you think if they fire John Hines, that ownership would have more of a say of who the next coach is, since David Poile seems to get worse and worse at his decision-making as time goes on? Let me say this. One of my biggest problems with the hiring of John Hines was the lack of interviewing anybody else. The lack of looking at what else was out there. The lack of getting a guy. If you're going to fire Laviolette, you need to get a guy who's got some skins on the wall, who people can look at and say, hey, I believe in this coach. And they went and hired a guy that had just been fired by New Jersey because he hadn't won anything in 3.5 seasons. And they fired Laviolette at 5 o'clock on a Monday, and they hired Hines at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. It looked from the outside like they did zero work in actually finding a new head coach. It's almost like Poile's buddies in New Jersey that just fired him called up David Poile and said, hey, trust us, this guy's a good coach. And David said, okay, and hired him. And then we got to live with it. And so if I own this team, well, we're not letting David do that. David is hiring an interim coach for the rest of this year. And then after this season is over, again, if I own the team, it'd be different. Somebody else would be doing the hiring. But then we are going to interview candidates. Some texter texted into the text line and said that Dan Heinold was on Robbie and Rexroad this morning. Said, I really thought you would run the Dan Heinold comments on Robbie and Rexroad about wanting locker room leaders like the Bruins. I thought that was one thread that you would immediately grab and pull on. I didn't hear what Dan Heinold said. I don't care what the assistant coaches say. Assistant coaches have no authority, so I don't care. You know, when they go down to the bench on a TV broadcast and they talk to the assistant coach, I don't care about that. But apparently I did hear that one cut that they played on the midday show before we came on, Ian. And Dan Heinold was talking about how these games against teams like the Bruins are the easy games to coach. And I thought, oh, what a bozo comment. Easy game to coach. We'll see at 9 o'clock tonight if it's an easy game to coach. Let's go to Paul, who's up next on the Predators coaching staff. Thank you for waiting. What's up, Paul?
Hey, Jared. First, thanks for your honesty on your takes on the Preds. Two, I know you just said you don't care what the assistant coaches say, but the real insane thing that he said that was shocking was that he talked about how incredibly deep and talented the roster is, and they just have to put it together on the ice, but they have so much depth, which was just the most painful and laughable thing I've ever heard. They have no depth compared to other NHL rosters, and that is the mentality that is the problem. I don't know if that's just the company line that Poyle's making everyone say, but it just sounds insane.
I can't think of the last time that these people told us the truth. Thank you for the call, Paul. I can't remember the last time that they – remember at the end of the season when they had their postseason press conference and it was like, oh, no, I know you guys think this team can't win in the playoffs, but we do. And it's like, It's so frustrating. Ian, do we have cuts from Dan Heinold this morning?
A little bit, yeah. I have some that I'm going to play and for my update and stuff. So, yeah, we do.
Okay. Just give me some of these Dan Heinold cuts, and let's see if it's as bad as the text line.
Okay, 1 second, please.
Want to make it up to be because, again, I didn't hear it, and I truly don't care what assistant coaches say. But at the same time, like, man, the bozoery, if it's bad, I am now worried, considering that we've had people texting about this and now we've had somebody calling about this. I'm worried that my blood pressure is going to surge here within the next 35 seconds when Ian starts playing some of these cuts. Do you have one for me, Ian?
What's your message? What's the coaching staff's message to the players tonight as they prepare to take on Boston?
Well, these games are easy to coach in the sense of, you know, everyone in the world knows how good Boston is. Everyone in the world knows, you know, Marchand's going to try and get under your skin. Everyone knows that Bergeron's going to play probably the perfect game, you know, and McAvoy's going to hit you. Like everyone in the league watches Boston because they're kind of the blueprint of success. So from a coaching perspective, you're just getting them ready, you know, strategically with little nuances of your systems that might work against theirs and that kind of thing. But as far as motivating them and preparing them for what to expect, like this is one of the easiest games in that regard to coach because they know what's coming, which is great because I think we're the type of team that reacts really well to that kind of challenge.
Man, I mean, that's not so bozo-ish. That's not
terrible.
that bad.
Not terrible.
I mean, it's going to look bad if Boston comes in here and beats them 7-1 tonight. Then it's going to look really bad.
I see where he's going with it, you know?
Sure. It also isn't good when it's like, you know, this team gets up for games like this. Well, what happened Tuesday night?
Mm-hmm. That's the problem, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know we can get up for games like this.
I didn't think that was that bad. We got another high note cut?
Sure, 1 second.
Because, again, I got to be fair. I got to be fair. If you people want to get mad at what he said on Robbie and Rexroad, then we should listen to
Where do you feel like this locker room is in terms of just confidence, but also just, you know, that accountability and the feeling that you guys can make a push here?
I think our confidence level is really high. I think we have, you know, 4 good lines that can pretty much play against anybody. And, you know, when you're deep like that, you know, that kind of gives your locker room a lot of hope. You know,
Turn it off. Seriously? 4 good lines? What are we talking about here? You know, our 4 lines can play with anybody in the league. Dude, you've got an 18% chance of making the playoffs. That, my goodness. and I'll say this, like, I get it. You know, people get mad when they hear a broadcaster say something, you know, a guy who works for the team that's on the team's broadcast on TV that says something, and it's, oh, can you believe what he said? And it's like he works for the team. And David Poyle's the one who starts off with all the, you know, narrative spinning, and then everybody else who's associated with it has to kind of pull on that rope. I get it. But at the same time, like, when you say things like that, and you've been saying things like that, and you haven't won a playoff series in 5 years, all it does is make people that are not paid by the team and are not blind to what has happened for the last 5 years, it makes us think to ourselves, why are we even listening to that? You're going to tell me you got 4 lines? Who's your first line? Do you have a first line? And you all know the answer is no. 4 lines. That one, wow. Do we have one more? That one, I thought the first one was, fine. You know, it's easy to coach. Nobody wants to hear anybody say it's easy to coach.
What stands out to you when you watch tape of what Boston's done so far this year?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm sitting here watching their power play, and it's kind of the stuff of nightmares if you're trying to kill it. But they're, you know what makes them special? I mean, I'm sure it gets overdone in the media, and I don't read a ton about it, but their discipline and leadership and just watching their best players control the game in and out every night is impressive, because they do it so consistently. I really loved, I got the pleasure of coaching Foligno in Columbus and kind of watching him grow as a leader. And then that little video clip of him in the outdoor game, kind of rallying the troops, telling the coaches, hey, you guys stay out. We're going to take the locker room. And then, you know, he gave that speech, and then, you know, they came out and played their style. And, you know, from a coaching perspective, you wish every single locker room looked like that. That's the blueprint of leadership. So for me, that's what's really impressive about Boston after all these years is.
Ian, do you take that one as a slight towards your locker room?
Not necessarily, because I think he has a point is where Boston's got that, you know, that kind of core group that's really between Boston and Tampa. You know, those two really have kind of stuck together and persevered, and they kind of move the pieces around, but that core group really kind of carries them.
At the same time, that core group has 2 guys that's going to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep. No, I mean, Tampa too, more. Right? I mean, Kucherov and Stamkos and maybe Point and Hedman. Who knows? Those guys are legit.
I mean, I think there's a chance that Boston ends up with 3 guys in the Hall of Fame off this team. And they all play. I mean, I know they screw around with the lines a little bit, but when they go nuclear, they put those 3 together. Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak. And Bergeron and Marchand are headed to the Hall of Fame. Pasternak might. So you say, well, you know, why don't our best players do what their best players do? Because your best players ain't that good. That's why. But that gets me all worked up. Not as bad as I thought. That one cut in there about the 4 lines was a little ridiculous. TD is here for the TD Power Hour. We'll do that next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. I love Hiller. They have been taking care of my home for years. And I always tell you that they can do the exact same for you. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize, like a free 55-inch TV, an Apple iPad, a Solo Stove, or a Nintendo Switch when you purchase a new whole home generator or select new HVAC systems. Or get a free 55-inch TV, a Nintendo Switch, or a Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of your necessary home replacements than right now. And to do it with my friends at Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I love my friends at Hiller. They're the best. Again, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. That's Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
You love the game.
Tennessee touchdown! Middle Tennessee gets the score.
We live the game.
Just work on the little things every day.
They think the coaches are just coaches. We are.
Ranks and he scores!
On both sides of the ball.
One big possession. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The National Wild Turkey Federation is celebrating 50 years of conservation delivery during this year's Convention and Sports Show, set for February 16th through 18th at Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Come celebrate the golden anniversary with members, volunteers, partners, and countless outdoor enthusiasts. You can expect the same great nightly events, quality entertainment in the watering hole, and the latest gear from more than 450 companies featured in their exhibit hall. For more info, go to nwtf.org.
When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics. If you have painful joints, arthroscopic surgery may be the cure to solve your pain. Arthroscopic surgery is minimally invasive and provides faster recovery time. The experienced doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics may be able to get you feeling back to normal with an arthroscopic surgery of your knee, shoulder, hip, elbow, wrist, or ankle. Each of the 10 locations in Middle Tennessee has an arthroscopic surgeon that can determine if this type of surgery is the best option for you. Visit tn.houston.com to learn more and to book an appointment. Houston Clinic Orthopedics. When experience matters.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Under new ownership, Duck River Raceway Park is celebrating their 50th anniversary in 2023 with its biggest events of the year, Winterfest. This family-friendly event will feature over 200 cars in a quarter-mile dirt track in Wheel, Tennessee. 15 minutes from Henry Horton State Park, only an hour south from downtown Nashville. Come enjoy good food, good people, and great racing this Friday, February 17th through Sunday the 19th. Check out tickets and more at duckriverracewaypark.com.
Your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Nashville Predators are back on the Bridgestone Arena ice tonight as they host top seed in the East, the Boston Bruins. Preds assistant coach Dan Hino was on Robbie and Rexroad this morning and talked about tonight's matchup.
This could be the perfect platform for us to propel into, a streak, right? You come out and play well against Boston and you gain the confidence of that's the best this league has to offer, and we went toe-to-toe with them. We can play against anybody, right? But that's how we need to come out of this game. You can play the best game in the world and not win. We understand that. But you need to know that you can hang toe-to-toe with a team like Boston to give yourself the kind of confidence that we need to put a streak together. So to me, this is a perfect opportunity for our team to kind of get going in that direction.
Puck drop tonight for Preds versus Bruins is set for 7, with pregame at 6, right here on the Preds Radio Network. On the college hardwood, the Vols got a big win over top-ranked Alabama last night. And coming up at 5:30 on 94.9 The Fan, the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders take on FAU. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Tonight, your Nashville Predators take on the Boston Bruins. Coverage begins at 6 on your home for Smashville. WPRT FM Pegram, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing. And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios, Bridgestone Arena tonight. The Preds and the best team in the league. TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. TD, I'm a little mad at Ian, I'm not going to lie.
Uh-oh. What happened, Captain?
Well, we were playing those Preds assistant coach cuts from Robbie and Rexroad today. And, you know, I thought some of them were off the rocker. That one that Ian didn't play that he saved for his update was a little off the rocker. Please give me, Ian, please give me that last one that you used in the update again. And I just want to ask TD this question. Imagine Mike Vrabel saying this.
This could be the perfect platform for us to propel into, you know, a streak, right? You come out and play well against Boston and you gain the confidence of that's the best this league has to offer. And we went toe-to-toe with them. We can play against anybody, right? But that's how we need to come out of this game. You can play the best game in the world and not win. We understand that. But you need to know that you can hang toe-to-toe with a team like Boston to give yourself the kind of confidence that we need to put a streak together. So to me, this is a perfect opportunity for our team to kind of get going in that direction.
Could you imagine Vrabel saying something like that?
No, man. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I get what Coach is saying there.
Sure.
You know, it's a good measuring stick, but I learned quickly not to ask Coach Vrabel about what I term to be GPS games, because that's what Coach there was referring to, a GPS game. But, hey, we all look at things differently.
That is true. Let's start with the quarterback position, TD. You know, Patrick Mahomes wins another Super Bowl. They traded away Tyreek Hill. Apparently, Kansas City thinks that nobody expected them to win, even though I think a lot of people expect Kansas City to be good this year. And it kind of highlights, again, the haves and the have-nots at the quarterback position. The Titans have a quarterback that I think other teams would kill for, given how other teams are acting when it comes to Derek Carr. And yet Aaron Rodgers is out there. I'm going to put you on the hot seat, TD. If you were in charge of the Titans, you were a combination of Ran Carthon and Mike Vrabel, you had full authority. What would your plan at quarterback be right now?
Well, I would do one or two things. I would strongly consider, I want to see what the Jets would offer for Tannehill, right? I make that deal. If they offer a second round, even like just a second, but if they do a second and a fourth, listen, Ryan, I love you, but you got to go. And this is a strategy that I have that I don't think that they would do, but you asked what I would do. Sure. So I would make that deal. You know what? I'm either going with Josh Dobbs or Jacoby Brissett, like go out and get one of those types, Teddy Bridgewater, have them be the starter this year. Malik, another year of development for Willis. See where I come out in the 2024 draft. If I can, off of 11, I'm trading back to acquire more picks. Next year, look, man, we're going to move heaven and earth, and we're going to go up and get Caleb Williams. That's what I would do. But realistically, what I think the Titans will do is go ahead and have Tannehill as a quarterback this year. They may move up to get a Bryce Young, a C.J. Stroud, or one of those type of guys, and then just ride out with them as the starter next year.
So I want to go back to what you would do. So you are not entertaining, if you run the Titans, you are not entertaining Rodgers.
Does Aaron Rodgers come in here and immediately make this team a contender?
I think he might.
You know what else has to happen? You have to have the perfect storm as far as him redoing this deal so that – because remember, if you move off of Tannehill, almost no matter what, you're sitting at, what, $17.8 million? So then you bring in Rodgers. If I'm not mistaken, I have to look further at his contract, but I believe over the next 2 years he's a total of $48 million.
So I think for this upcoming season, it is a $58 million option bonus. So Green Bay is on the hook already for $1 million of his $59 million salary that is fully guaranteed. And they have until like the training camp in order to pick up the option. So they allowed themselves to be able to trade Rodgers. So you would have to rework Rodgers' contract.
Right.
But you would be essentially one way or another taking on $58. You would be trading a $27 million salary for a $58 million salary.
Right. So you do that, and once you do that, are you able to go out and get other players? We saw this Packers team with Christian Watson playing outstanding football towards the end. We saw them with two outstanding running backs, right, in Dillard and Aaron Jones. Defense was decent. They didn't do anything in the NFC North. So for me, when I look at that, I don't think Rodgers single-handedly makes this team, okay, they're going to go against the Bengals and these other teams and be successful.
You know what's crazy is I hear Mike Tannenbaum talking a lot about Rodgers and how it reminds him of when he was with the Jets and they acquired Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back at that. They gave up a third-round pick for Brett Favre. It wasn't like they gave up the 11th pick in the draft in order to get Brett Favre. Now, we know last year, coming off of back-to-back MVPs, Green Bay or Denver was going to give up heaven and earth in order to get Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
If Rodgers is really out there, if the Packers want to kick him out of the door, which Charles Robinson said on the morning show today, that Green Bay is tired of Aaron Rodgers and they want to go with Jordan Love, if that's the case, would Rodgers cost the Titans a first-round pick, especially if Rodgers gets to decide where he wants to go?
I think so. What did Russell Wilson cost last year? You saw what he cost last year.
2 1s, 2 2s, a player, and Drew Lock.
Yeah, so I would definitely believe that Rodgers would cost a first-round pick.
I just wonder, like, the thing that's weird about this deal, too, is that all three sides have to be in agreement here, right? Like, the Titans have to be in agreement with Rodgers, and that Rodgers has to agree to rework his contract however it takes, and he has to want to come here, and then the Packers have to agree to trade him.
Compensation, right.
And the Jets, it feels like, have been pushing all their chips in the middle to say, we want Aaron Rodgers, and now it feels like the Jets are kind of pulling out and saying, no, we want Derek Carr. And I don't know where that came from.
Does it really feel that way, though? Do you think so?
Well, they hired Todd Downing.
But I don't think they hired Todd Downing just because of Derek Carr, though.
Why do you think they hired Todd Downing?
I think they hired him to come on to help the staff. I mean, he has a background that, can be tied into Hackett. So I think, there are ties there. So I don't think – Todd Downing being on the staff, I don't think that single-handedly makes it so Derek Carr would go there. I think Derek Carr would go there regardless if that's, a move he wanted to make. I don't think that's the difference maker. They had a couple good years together, and I've asked Coach Downing about Derek Carr, and he spoke glowingly of him and said they have a great relationship. But I don't think that's a move that they make just to bring in Derek Carr.
So going back to what you would do, you would call the Jets and offer you want a second and a fourth in return for Tannehill, and then you would make the move, and then you would go with either a Josh Dobbs or a Jacoby Brissett.
Teddy Bridgewater, that type. This year. And
so you like Caleb Williams that much that you would essentially be punting on this season?
Caleb Williams, yes. And I'm not saying punting because I believe you could still be competitive with a Teddy B, with a Brissett. Dobbs, it remains to be seen. But I think you could be competitive at the very least. So,
man, you love Caleb Williams, which makes sense because the tape does look a little bit like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. You saw the 3 clips that I text you. You know what I mean? That he is that guy, man. He is that guy. But I'm just saying that's what I would do. Mm-hmm. Remember, I don't have to go and look, those guys in the face. I don't have to go look Danico Autry in the face knowing that he has only so many years left and say, hey, you know what? We're going to focus on the following year. We're still going to be competitive, but we're going to focus on winning the chip the following year. Like, I don't have to do that. So, Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, they have to do that. So that's why I think that type of move isn't one that they would do. But you could even look at if you bring in, a guy like on the caliber of Geno Smith. I'm not talking about Geno Smith, but a guy on that caliber that'll cost you a little bit less, it's a move that you could do, but I think Tannehill's still the quarterback.
TD's with us. Get your questions in for TD at 615-737-1025. The car market seems to be very, very juicy and maybe even tied in a little bit with Tannehill or how we should feel about Tannehill. We'll get into that with TD, and we'll do that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knesvik here for Superbook Sports. And listen, make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, check out some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and in the past, hair loss was inevitable, but now you have a choice for thicker, fuller hair. Trust the experts with 45 years of experience at Hair Club. They've helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair again. No matter your age, stage of hair loss, or budget, Hair Club can customize a solution for you. And for a limited time, you can get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Dave Matthews Band Live. Friday, May 26th, Bridgestone Arena. Pre-sale for City Card members now through Thursday, February 16th at 10 p.m. before the general public on Friday, February 17th at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Pre-order the new album, Walk Around the Moon now. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
Hey, it's Jared. If you're listening to us on I-24 towards Murfreesboro or I-65 towards Spring Hill, make sure you check out 106.3 for another great way to hear Nashville's best sports talk.
Still overpaying for a razor? In this economy? Gross. At Dollar Shave Club, you can get a top-shelf shave at a regular shelf price. We've been hawking shaving products for years online, and we're excited to bring you the same great quality and low prices at a store near you. From high-quality stainless steel blades to super smooth shave creams, Dollar Shave Club's in the business of making your shave easier. Find Dollar Shave Club in the men's razor aisle. Getting your Dollar Shave Club razor wherever you want. Isn't that great?
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Where do you want to see Derek Carr play next year?
I'd love to see him go to Tampa. Again, that's another division that could be winnable with the roster that, despite the fact that they underachieved this year, the roster is not bad. I think they're a bit in no man's land where you could kind of just move on from everybody and start the rebuild, or you could try to make one last push if you can get a reasonable facsimile of Tom Brady, which I think Derek Carr can provide for them.
The Jets, I think, will be a fascinating litmus test here. If the Jets go hard after Derek Carr, that might be a pretty interesting sign that they don't think Aaron Rodgers is really going to become available.
Or that they don't think they'll be able to land him, yes. But Derek Carr, I think Mike said this earlier, you want to have a plan A and a plan B. You do not, you want all these guys to think, hey, this could be the perfect destination for you, and the Jets clearly have a good roster.
Give me a team that right now should be on the phone with Derek Carr by 4:01 today, Mike T.
The New Orleans Saints, this one's easy.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen was his head coach when he was drafted. They have a top 10 defense. They have some really good skilled players. Chris Olave, I think, is going to be a bona fide one. Obviously, Alvin Kamara. And Derek Carr may not be an A right now, but he's certainly a B+, and he will stabilize that team. And to Neek's point, when you look at that division, it's really up for grabs. Derek Carr and the Saints makes a ton of sense.
There you go. That was the ESPN crew talking about Derek Carr, who is the belle of the ball. TD Power Hour, Teron Davenport with us. TD1, what do you make of this wild and crazy, outrageous market for, B+ quarterback? Like, that's what Tannenbaum said right there. I think B+ is kind of stretching it. What do you make of that? And we'll get into how this affects Tannehill, but let's start with your thoughts on the Carr market.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of he's the latest flavor, right? And if you look back a couple years ago, he had a pretty good season, when they lost to the Bengals on that crazy call in the playoffs. He had, just short of 5K passing. The thing with him, the interceptions have always been the problem that I've had with him, and that's something. But, you look at his body of work, he's a pretty solid quarterback, but it's just when you're in a conference with, the Joe Burrows, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, it's tough. And you got to have at least some kind of hope. And, a lot of these teams feel like he gives them that hope, at least, when you look at some of the ones in the AFC. But I like what Foxworth said about Tampa. I think that would be the ideal place for him.
You know what I find to be crazy is how Derek Carr, again, Tannenbaum just said he's a B+ quarterback. Mm-hmm. Anytime I talk to anybody about Tannehill, it's like, he's fine. He's kind of a bridge guy. TD, I went and took the career and not only the career, but also since 2020 and last year between Tannehill and Carr. Record, completion percentage, quarterback rating, touchdown to interception ratio, yards per attempt, playoff appearances, and wins. Tannehill is better than Carr in 14 of the 17 categories.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be – so the volume stuff is going to be jaded more in Derek Carr's favor because that's what he does. He throws in volume. But you look at Tannehill, and I've always said this about him, he's one of those guys where he doesn't have to throw the ball 35 to 40 times to gas you. And you look at his average per completion, you look at those type of things, his completion percentage tends to be a bit higher, but along with that you have the higher average because take the play action deep pass to Khalif Raymond against the Ravens, right? Mm-hmm. Take how many times they play action and they threw that strike route to A.J. Brown and he caught it and ran a mile with it. Or even, the play action bombs that he dropped to Corey Davis, right? So he's a guy that doesn't have to have a lot, and that's what I love about him as a quarterback. You don't need that volume to be successful with him. He will make his throws count, but then at the same time, he typically is going to keep the interceptions low.
What do you make of this? Just last season, Tannehill had a better record, 6-6 to 6-9. Better completion percentage, 65-60. Better quarterback rating, 94.6 to 86.3. Better touchdown to interception ratio, 2.1 for Tannehill, 1.7 for Carr. And this one was the stunning one to me. Better yards per attempt at 7.8 for Tannehill than 7.0 for Carr. He had Devontae Adams and Mac Hollins on his team.
Well, let's not act like Mac Hollins. Come on. I know Mac Hollins.
No, but he can run the deep ball.
He can run the deep ball. He definitely can. But let's pump the brakes here on Mac Hollins.
Hey, I get Terrence Mitchell on the show. We'll ask him about Mac Hollins.
And that's what I attempted to say. I know he ate the Titans alive. But look, I think when you look at that, he was also in a scheme, Carr, that is, there just wasn't a mesh between he and Josh McDaniels. And the way the year ended, that showed it. How many teams are going to, do what they did? Like, they showed their hand. So it was apparently that bad that they showed their hand and told Carr, look, man, don't come back to the building. Mm-hmm. We'll figure it out before March 15th, but or before February, whatever it was, February 12th or whatever it was, they had to make that decision. So, I mean, that says a lot to it. And then a lot of times, like, people will say, oh, well, he had Devontae Adams. Yes, he did. He had Hunter Renfrow. Not necessarily. He had Darren Waller. Well, Waller was out for 9 games. He did have Josh Jacobs there, but, I mean, there were sometimes player and coaches don't mix. And that relationship, we see it with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, or with Jalen Hurts, who I told you he was an outstanding quarterback, with not Jonathan Gannon, but with Nick Sirianni. You know what I mean? That relationship is critical. That's probably the most important one on the team. So if that's not right, if it's not kosher like it was in Las Vegas, here's the result.
What do you make of the Tannehill Jets speculation?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that should be noted is, and I've said this before, it should be noted that they're saying that, yeah, they're interested, but he's not the first option, right? So what do you do? Like, you have a plan. Like, you don't put all of your eggs in one basket, right? Because then you end up where Denver was, and now all of a sudden you got to rush and make a rash decision that could backfire on you. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, it's one of those things where they're just looking at options, right? Because they said, and basically you look, the best veteran quarterbacks available well, Tannehill's not available, but the best veteran quarterbacks that could be within striking distance, those are the ones they're interested in. So it's just, I don't think it's something that you would make a whole lot out of. It's something that I'm sure these teams are going to be on the phone talking, but me personally, I don't part ways with Tannehill unless it's at the minimum. Like, I need a third at the minimum, you know, a third and something else at the minimum.
I mean, I'll tell you this. When I saw the report from SNY that Tannehill is 4th on the list after Rodgers, Carr, and Garoppolo, I was offended. I mean, I get the idea of putting Tannehill behind Rodgers. I'm not going to argue that, even though Rodgers is kind of off his rocker a little bit. But Carr, I mean, we just went over the numbers. I think Tannehill's better than Carr.
I agree.
Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, I think ideally Jimmy Garoppolo ends up with the Raiders because you have that mix there, right? You know, they've already worked together, and it was somewhat successful in that little stretch that he played with the Patriots.
I bet everybody gets fired if that happens too.
What do you mean?
Like, I think you're right. I think that Garoppolo ends up being the consolation prize with the Raiders, and that the Raiders end up with Garoppolo at quarterback, and that they lose a bunch of games, or Jimmy gets hurt, and they lose a bunch of games, and McDaniels gets fired.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not.
If I was the Raiders, and it would pain me to do this because I don't necessarily think that Mac Jones is worth the 7th pick, but I would think about dealing the 7th pick for Mac Jones.
Oof.
Only because if you have a quarterback and Jones has shown a little something in his career, and he was certainly better under McDaniels than he was under the bozo staff that they had last year on offense in New England.
The makeshift.
You know, maybe that's your quarterback for 10 years and you've got the next Derek Carr. You know, like I don't.
I think Jimmy G could be good in that. Now, good and winning it all for you are two different things, but he's been efficient. I mean, he's had efficient years. He's not the guy I would go out and get because he has that scariness to him that I just don't like as out of my quarterbacks.
Man, I think Garoppolo, I can't stand him. And he's never healthy, but also I can't stand him. TD is with us to the draft, where I know TD's been working hard. Quarterbacks. Todd McShay with a take on the quarterbacks in this class. We'll get to that next. Of course, get your questions in for TD. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Did you screw up Valentine's Day? If you did, in fact, screw up Valentine's Day, well, we've got a chance to help you out. 1025 The Game and Green Trees Company are going to give you your shot to make it up. Tune into the Chase and Michelle Show tomorrow for your last chance to win tickets to see Adam Sandler at Bridgestone Arena, courtesy of Green Trees Company in Hendersonville.
Tonight.
Shot in the score. Jankowski converts that pass from Roman Yossi.
The Predators continue their homestand against the Boston Bruins. Pre-game at 6. Puck drop at 7 on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome to Smashville, home of your Nashville Predators. Join us at Bridgestone Arena Tuesday, February 21st for College Night with the University of Alabama as your Nashville Predators take on the Vancouver Canucks. Purchase your College Night tickets today at NashvillePredators.com/College Nights. That's NashvillePredators.com/College Nights for a Preds and Alabama co-branded hats. And don't miss February 28th as your Nashville Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Secure tickets at NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Let's go, Preds!
It's Family Leisure's President's Day sale.
Wait, President's Day?
Well, it's in honor of all our presidents, and it means great deals for everyone.
Okay, like what?
Well, pools and spas for one. Family Leisure has the largest selection and guarantees the lowest prices anywhere.
What about grills and grill islands?
Of course, everything is on sale for 4 days at Family Leisure, just in time for spring.
Family Leisure, both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willie Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Count on the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to recommend the best products for your vehicle and budget. Get maximum cooling system performance for 10 years or 300,000 miles with peak long life universal pre-mixed antifreeze and coolant. Now just $6.99 after mail-in rebate. Plus get 2 times O Rewards points. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly. Limit supply. See store for details.
Lowe's always has more ways for you to save. On top of our everyday low prices, pros can save big when buying in bulk. Or if your purchase is over $1,500, ask about our volume savings program. A pro associate can provide a customized quote. Ask about our volume savings programs today. It always pays to be a pro at Lowe's. While supplies last, minimum purchase required. Selection varies by location. Lowe's reserves the right to limit quantities. Volume discount pricing quotes are valid up to 7 days. Visit your local pro desk to learn more and start saving. Offers subject to change and may not be available in all Lowe's stores.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
He's a smaller version of Patrick Mahomes. The presence he has in the pocket, the ability to feel pressure coming, the ability to see the whole field and make all the throws with really good touch and timing. He's different than all these other guys. Personally, I would take Bryce Young if I was Chicago. I would do it because I would want Bryce Young because I think he's an upgrade over Justin Fields, and I want his rookie contract so I have 5 years.
That was Todd McShay on ESPN. TD is with us for the TD Power Hour. You have done a dive onto the draft over the last couple of weeks. TD, let's go right into that Todd McShay tape. Do you see the same things out of Bryce Young that he sees?
Not to that extent. I mean, he does do that. He has a good ability. Like, one of the things you see him do so many times, like that reverse baseball turn out of the pocket, and you see him, scramble and find a guy down the field and throw it to him. But I think we got to be careful not to set that young man up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To say the next Patrick Mahomes, I don't know about that. Because even, when I talk about Caleb Williams, I say he's Patrick Mahomes-like. You know what I mean? Right. I'm not saying that he's Patrick Mahomes, and I think you have to be careful when you do that. Bryce Young is an outstanding player, but it's a different prospect, in my opinion. There are some things to question, right? You have to make sure, because you look at the size, right? And I'm a believer that size is not a skill, but it is something that you have to work around and work with. And I say all that to say you want to make sure that he's able to do what he does in college, and that's move within the pocket to find those passing lanes. You know what I mean? So more importantly, the thing that I would be concerned about is just the body, right? Because you have, as a quarterback, when you're in the pocket, like, you're taking hits, So I'm just like, okay, how well will he be able to sustain it? I believe that he can, but it's just something that I would question.
Well, and he got banged up a little bit this year.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a concern for me. How would you feel, there's that rumor that was out there that the Titans were interested in acquiring the number 1 pick. How would you feel about going up from 11 to 1 is probably, the first this year, the first next year, and maybe even the first a year down the road from that. Do you think that Young would represent that kind of player that would be worth a trade like that?
There's one quarterback in these next 2 years that I think is worth that. And I've said it. It's Caleb Williams. That's the one quarterback that I would move up. So, no, I wouldn't move heaven and earth the way that it would probably require to go up and get Bryce Young. C.J. Stroud is a very intriguing prospect. That accuracy that he has, is ridiculous. You watch the playoff game, like, he really balled out in that one. But, no, I don't move up to get any of these guys. And, there's a big push for Will Levis. And you watch some of the times, like, you'll see him, what was it? I think it was the Florida game with Will Levis, where he stood at, like, the 36-yard line. And we're talking flick of the wrist into the end zone. Guy caught it on a deep post and fell into the end zone. Like, that's a major throw. So I see why people have that excitement, but the turnovers are something I can't get over with him.
TD, I talked to a guy in the league at the Super Bowl. I'm not going to share who it was on air. I'll text it to you later.
Okay.
But a guy who would know and would talk to people inside the game, he told me, I asked him because I was like, what do you make of all this Will Levis talk? And he looked at me straight-faced, and he said, oh, I think he's probably going to go number 1. I said, what? And he was like, yeah. He's like, just from what I hear, the teams think that he thinks Will Levis is going number 1.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the quote-unquote prototype, right? The height, weight. He could run. I mean, he's pretty athletic. I mean, I saw a couple runs where, he put the little whoop whoop on somebody, made him fall, and then jumped over. And, it was a nice run. But I just, I don't do that.
Here's my problem. They look at Will Levis and they tell me that he's got the body and the skills to be good. Well, if I'm picking a guy number 1, I want the guy who's got the body and the skills and is good.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's not just, when you say skills, too, we're talking about, that ability to throw it 70 yards with ease. And he has that. You know what it is? It's, okay. You name me a head coach or an offensive coordinator, and I'll tell you for a fact that he's arrogant. There's an arrogance and cockiness, a confidence that head coaches, coordinators, that they have. So you take a guy, whoever it may be, he's looking at that and he's saying, man, these are all measurable. I know he threw a lot of picks, but I tell you what, I can make something happen with that. You know what I mean? And that's why, because if you look like, I will put Levis and C.J. Stroud as far as like measurables and everything. I will put them neck and neck. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's just that attraction that they're going to have to Levis. So I mean, I could see a coach having that, and even with C.J. Stroud, I could see him going number 1 too, because there have been comments about him being the first quarterback taken.
And I'll say this about Levis too. Josh Allen, he's got all the measurables, but he's just not very accurate. And we'll get him accurate. We'll get him to where he is. And now Josh Allen is what he is. What do you make of Hendon Hooker, TD? Because I don't think Hendon Hooker goes in the first round. I think he 100% goes in the first round if he doesn't tear up his knee. I don't think he goes in the first round, but I don't think he makes it to the third round. And he did play outstanding football this year.
There was a stretch where he was the best player, not best quarterback, best player, period, in college football. So to be able to tap into that, absolutely, that's something that, I could see someone being tempted by. And for me, like, it's the maturity, too, that he has. I think you have to look at that. So many times they make these comments, like Todd McShay when he was talking about Will Levis. Oh, this is a guy I would want my daughter to marry. I think those type of comments, if you're going to make them, should be made up by Hendon Hooker as well, because he's a quality kid, from all the feedback that I've gotten. And then also you look at the height, weight, the playmaking ability, it's all there. So he's someone I could see an early day two, type of option where he goes there. And, I mean, you look at Seattle, that's an ideal. Like, let's say they place the tag or they keep Geno Smith for this year. And then you have Hooker come in and develop under him and then maybe move on to the following year. That's something. There's multiple situations where I think Hooker would be ideal. Here's
the thing that I wonder about Hooker, which is if I think he's got franchise potential, and I mean, Josh Heupel was what he was before Hendon Hooker, and Hendon Hooker was what he was before Josh Heupel. But Hooker's got the arm, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, he's got the maturity. He can run that system at Tennessee, and, we're bringing college into the pros more now than we ever have.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the end of the world to draft Hooker and have him sit on the bench for a year. Then you get him at 26 years old, and if you trade back into the first round and take him at the very end, you get him for 4 years after that. If you don't, you only get him for 3 years. I'm trying to figure out, other than the knee injury, what is the knock on Hendon Hooker?
I don't think there is any knock on him. It's the knee injury. Because as you said, right, if he's healthy, he's a first-round quarterback. So there really isn't any other knock on him, honestly.
Where do you think he would go? Where do you think he'd be mocked right now if he didn't suffer the knee injury?
I think he would be right there. He would be – I think an argument could be made for him to be QB1, honestly. An argument could be made for him to be QB1. At the minimum, QB4. Like, I put him ahead of Levis. It's you know what, Bunk, I'll say it. I think QB3. I will put him. I would go Bryce Young, Stroud, Hooker. That's the order I would go.
And you know what's crazy about that? I mean, the knee is what it is. It's an ACL. It's not like it's, a separated shoulder or an experimental surgery or a neck injury or a back injury. It's an ACL.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I'd like to think that ACLs usually heal. Now, he told Outkick 360 last week at the Super Bowl that he'll be cleared and ready to go for training camp. I am not buying that.
I mean, when he tore what, November?
I think so.
You look at Robert Woods, guys have been able to. I mean, look at the center, Jansen for the Bucks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not talking about one, we're talking about two, and this dude came back and played in the daggone Super Bowl, offensive line at that. So I wouldn't rule it out. And everybody is different, man. Like, the recoveries are different, and that's one thing about ACL. There's so many things that have been developed to make that thing come back even stronger. You know what I mean? So yep. I wouldn't be shocked if he did that.
Questions for TD, we're right to him next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Moving is no fun and can be expensive. You can save on your next move with our Nashville's Best Deal of the Week from Black Tie Moving. Get $200 off a half-day move for just $75 or $400 off of a full-day move for $150 at thegamenashville.com/deals.
every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford. It's February, and I know most people immediately think of the groundhog. But I don't want to focus on how Phil became the most well-known weatherman in history and how his accuracy rivals most human weathermen. I prefer to focus on love. We all know the songs Love Hurts and Love Stinks. Those songs are not welcome here. At Newton, we love what we do. The heart of what we do is found in helping people. And what better way to do that than by listening to your needs and helping you find exactly what you're looking for? We love helping you find the car you love. We love keeping the car you love running at its best. We have tons of new cars on ground looking to be loved and a huge selection of pre-loved cars waiting for you to give them a new home. You can shop for your next love on our website with Newton FastPass. Your new love can be delivered to your home. Find your love in Newton or visit us online at newtonford.com.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Signs First, Nashville's leading locally owned and operated sign and physical media company, has been supporting local community organizations for over 30 years. Signs First offers a 10% discount to all churches, nonprofits, and charities. Go to sfnash.com.
Celebrate Nashville's chefs and diverse food scene throughout the month of February with Dine Nashville. Scheduled events include one-of-a-kind chef collaborations throughout the month and Restaurant Week, February 20th through 26th. Reservations and more information can be found at visitmusiccity.com/Dine Nashville.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack on their new world tour. With special guest, I Prevail. May 23rd, First Bank Amphitheater. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. Until this Friday, 10 a.m. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company TD Power Hour. Teron Davenport is with us. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, 615-737-1025. Chris in Lewisburg says, TD, what happened to the quarterback market the last few years where everyone is now expecting to see teams make big moves, and this year it's only Derek Carr?
Well, it's not only Derek Carr. You got Ryan Tannehill, possibly, but more important, bigger, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got Jimmy Garoppolo. It's the same as it is, in my opinion, in other years where you have big names that could possibly be on the move.
Texter says, why would the Jets be interested in Tannehill when both Garoppolo and Carr are free agents? That comes from Jake in Greenbrier.
Why he said? Why would the Jets be interested in Tannehill when you have Garoppolo and Carr as free agents?
Yes.
Well, $27 million sounds a lot better than the numbers that Carr would probably get. Now,
Bingo.
Garoppolo just simply isn't as good, in my opinion. So I think that's why.
I think that, like, a lot of people think Garoppolo's something that he's not, and I think they also probably – I think they give Jimmy too much credit, and I don't think they give Tannehill enough credit. Texter asks, TD, do you put Drake May in a similar conversation as Caleb Williams? And if not, how far down is Drake May?
Yeah, I knew that was going to come up. I knew that one was going to. Drake May is a very intriguing because it's another one of those big, rocket-armed, athletic guys like a Will Levis. I still think Caleb Williams is better, but Drake May is a guy that could really make a name for himself this year because you got Josh Downs who's out of there. So now that's yet another couple of weapons that are gone. I want to see how he could do this year with, what he has on that roster. But I still feel that Caleb Williams is the better quarterback, but Drake May is a close second.
Where would you put Drake May in this year's quarterback class if he were eligible?
I would still have him right there with Will Levis. He still has to prove things to me. You know what I mean? And again, like, you have the big arm and you have the athleticism. I think he still has to prove things to me. So I would still have him behind the Stroud, the Bryce Youngs, those guys.
Texter says, TD, what do you think about the Titans swinging a deal for either Mike Evans or Chris Godwin? And what do you think a package for either guy would look like?
Well, that's kind of random. You're talking about both of these guys. They have, 2 more years at $20 million. I think a package, I think Evans would warrant, I would say probably a second-round pick. Godwin, because you still had the injury. I mean, I think a second or third gets either one of those guys, honestly. But, that wouldn't be a bad thing to do because if you get one of those guys, they're number one caliber receivers, and you got them at $20 million. That's not bad considering, what a lot of these receivers are getting.
Texter says, TD, what do you make of Mike Vrabel's personality with possible quarterbacks that are on the market this year?
How it meshes?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the question's about Rodgers.
Yeah. He and Rodgers are friends, so I don't think that would be an issue. And we've heard Rodgers, rant about Vrabel, right? Earlier in the year, he was like, man, I as long as that team is coached by Mike Vrabel, they're going to win. Right, so I don't think that would be any type of issue. And Vrabel, a lot of people think that he has like this brash, hard to get along with personality, but he's one of the most genuine people that I've encountered in football. I mean, this guy, he met one of my daughters once, and he still will randomly, hey man, how's your daughter? How's Devin? Mm-hmm. So you also look at how he talks about, asking someone how they're doing and really actually being in the moment to hear how they are doing. Those are examples of just, how genuine he is. And I'm not like sitting here trying to, blow him up as this divine person. I'm just keeping it 100. And I think it wouldn't be an issue personality-wise.
What do you think about Aaron's antics, though? Like doing the Pat McAfee show every week, and he throws people under the bus whenever he feels like throwing them under the bus and things like that, and how Vrabel would feel about those things.
Well, I mean, Bussin' with the Boys, they don't throw anybody under the bus, but, I mean, that's a show that Vrabel had no problem with them doing. Mm-hmm. With Lewan as his, franchise tackle, he had no problem with that. In fact, he was on the show, so I don't think that would be an issue.
Texter asked the question and says, TD, what do you make of Derrick Henry and where the Titans go from here with him and his contract?
Well, I mean, they've made it pretty clear that they're going to have him at least one more year. Next year could be one of those years where it's okay, there's a transition to more of the passing type of offense, with him being 31. But I think he'll be here for another year. You look at his number, in 2024, it's 2.4 million. That's what he counts on the cap. So you could keep him around, and even if it's a situation where he's not the same, like you could gear up next year, 2024, to shift to a different type of offense because you don't have this big number, right, wrapped around the one player contract-wise. So you could see, but you could have that in mind, like, okay, we're going to balance it out a little bit more.
I could be wrong about this. I think that 2.4 for 2024 is a void dead hit.
His dead cap, well, it's 2. So if they released him, they would have that times 2. So it would be 4.5. That would be the dead cap if they released him.
You're telling me he has a contract for 2024 that is $4 million or $2 million, base salary.
The base salary will be paid. The last base salary, looking at this at Spot Track, the last bit of base salary is 10.5, and that is in 2023. Now there was a restructure, so his signing bonus, the last signing bonus, is $3 million. There's a miscellaneous. I'm going to assume that's a camp or workout, OT, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the restructure that he did, and that put the $2.3 million for the next 2 years.
Texter says, TD, do you think Hassan Haskins can be anything other than a backup in this league?
I think Haskins can be more than a backup. I like him. He's a complete player. He came in, immediately showed that he could catch the ball, gradually showed that he could be a blocker as well. And then on top of that, he's a solid runner. He's not someone that I would project to have 1,500, 1,400 rushing yards, but I could see him rushing for 1,000 or having 1,200 total yards. So he's a guy that I think could be the next one. There's a few backs that you could go with over the next couple years. I mean, you look at Rashawn Johnson, who's out of Texas. He's a guy I like. App State has a guy that's pretty good. Who Jim Nagy, his name is Peoples. Jim Nagy actually compared him to Derrick Henry just in play style, but he compared him to him.
Texter asks, do you think Taylor Lewan will return on a lesser deal?
No, I don't. I think Taylor Lewan, I think that ship has sailed. Taylor Lewan had a fabulous career here. He's, someone who I think has a bright future outside of football. I think he's one of those guys that I could see going in and being in the booth even, or, being a sideline reporter like a Tony Siragusa type. You know what I mean? I could see him doing that. But I say all that to say, I think, just from a standpoint, a usage standpoint, I think that's a done deal.
Texter says, with so many intriguing right tackle prospects in the draft, including one who played with Nicholas Petit-Frere at Ohio State, do you think the Titans are set at right tackle with Petit-Frere, or do you think they'll explore right tackle and maybe explore moving Petit-Frere to left tackle?
Or even guard. You look, it's not just one guy that played alongside Petit-Frere. You look at DeJuan Jones, man. Let me tell you something. To have the footwork that he has at that size is really impressive. You go back. I need to show you just some of the Senior Bowl one-on-one clips, and just to see the way he gets back in his drop, right, and just how he's able to do that and the balance, and then just getting his hands using he has the wingspan of a 7'5" person. You know what I mean? So we're talking about Sean Bradley like. Right, and he could use that. He gets his hands on you, and I tell you, I've seen him just take guys and really bury them. And he's someone that I feel is a first-round type of prospect. So you got that at right guard. Obviously, Paris Johnson Jr., who's the one I'm thinking that the texter's referring to. I could see them, signing a guy like whether it's Andre Dillard or McGlinchey or whoever it should be. I could see them signing one of those guys and bumping Petit-Frere into a guard spot, or even having him be your swing tackle.
TD, one good thing about the Super Bowl, the 17th week, and pushing the Super Bowl back, the Combine is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we are turning the corner right away. TD, good to see you as always. We'll talk soon.
All right, good to see you, man. Appreciate it.
TD joining us as always, for the TD Power Hour. So Aaron Rodgers is available, I guess. I don't know. Is he out there? Is he not? And there was a question asked about Aaron Rodgers that I think the answer is very, very simple. We'll get to this coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
The doors on the board. Touchdown at TSU.
We live the game.
Going up against that defense, he can make some plays and take that next step.
We are
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
If you missed the latest from Robbie and Rex Road.
Predators General Manager David Poyle, our guest here on Robbie and Rex Road, joins us every Tuesday morning at 8:30.
Deadline getting closer here, David. I guess, would you have to be in a much worse position mathematically by that day or by that direct time period to seriously consider selling?
That's what keeps me up at night. Right now we're still below the line, not in the playoffs. We're running out of time. Just like this interview, I've been talking about inconsistency and people need to play better, but that hasn't happened on a regular basis. So I do not think we're a buyer. Let's start with that. And I think if things don't change more favorably and get in some kind of winning streak, we certainly could be a seller, but that's not today.
Robbie and Rex Road, weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Moving isn't fun and can be expensive. With this week's Nashville's Best Deal, save on your next move with Black Tie Moving. Enjoy red carpet treatment along with professional pad wrapping. They will assemble and disassemble your items and save you time. Black Tie delivers a world-class packing service and offers long-distance and local moving options. Right now, get $200 off a half-day move for just $75 or $400 off a full-day move for $150 at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try some of our new menu items like the Nashville Hot Fish and Chips, Nathan's Hot Dog Burn Ends, or the Nashville Chicken Jam Band. Go Preds.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Ghost Re-Imperator USA 2023. This Sunday night, Ascend Amphitheater. Ghost, presented by 102.9 The Buzz. Special guest, Alana Barth. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Ghost, part of the Journeys concert series.
Screw up Valentine's Day. 102.5 The Game and Green Trees Company have your chance to make it up. Tune in this Friday to Chase and Michelle for your last chance to win tickets to see Adam Sandler at Bridgestone Arena, courtesy of Green Trees Company in Hendersonville.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Nashville Predators are back on the Bridgestone Arena ice tonight as they host top seed in the East, the Boston Bruins. Preds assistant coach Dan Hino was on Robbie and Rex Road this morning and talked about tonight's matchup.
This could be the perfect platform for us to propel into, a streak, right? You come out and play well against Boston and you gain the confidence of that's the best this league has to offer, and we went toe-to-toe with them. We can play against anybody. Right? But that's how we need to come out of this game. You can play the best game in the world and not win. We understand that. But you need to know that you can hang toe-to-toe with a team like Boston to give yourself the kind of confidence that we need to put a streak together. So to me, this is a perfect opportunity for our team to kind of get going in that direction.
Puck drop tonight for Preds versus Bruins is set for 7, with pregame at 6, right here on the Preds Radio Network. On the college hardwood, the Vols got a big win over top-ranked Alabama last night. And coming up at 5:30 on 94.9 The Fan, the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders take on FAU. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios at Bridgestone Arena. Preds tonight against the best team in the league, the Boston Bruins. So this morning I woke up, I was minding my own business, Ian, and I woke up and I do what I do pretty much every morning, which is flip right to the Robbie and Rex Road program.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I do that to myself? Why do I put myself through such pain?
Just get yourself worked up so early in the morning.
It is so true. So I turned on the Robbie and Rex Road program. Charles Robinson, senior insider at Yahoo Sports, it was on their program, as he is every week. And Robbie asked him about Aaron Rodgers and where he's going and what it means. And Charles Robinson echoed a sentiment that I have heard a lot of people say, which is, do you really want to deal with Aaron Rodgers?
Why do you even want to deal with this guy? Like, nobody wants to deal with this guy anymore. The Packers don't want to deal with him. He is so high maintenance, and there's just so much crap tied to him that, I mean, you better win the Super Bowl. Whoever's going to get him, like if he does get traded, and there's every chance that he comes out of the dark and decides, no, I want to stay or I want to retire, whatever hallucination steers him toward his destination. Why? Like, it's so insane to me, and the Packers are beyond sympathetic at this stage, dealing with just the ridiculousness.
So he says they've had enough. Enough's enough. They don't want to deal with him anymore. In fact, Ian, if you could, Mike Tannenbaum was talking on ESPN about, and he's a former general manager, and Mike Tannenbaum was talking about the idea of being tired of Aaron Rodgers' bull crap. Here is what Mike Tannenbaum had to say.
You know, Greeny, just sitting in front offices for 20-plus years and being in these planning meetings, I know today is about love and relationships, but there's another word that applies here. It's fatigue. Mm-hmm. At some point, if you're the Green Bay Packers, it's just enough. Like, enough. Are you in? Are you out? The contract, Devontae, Bakhtiari, enough. And at some point, it's just not worth it. He didn't play great last year. And I'm not saying Jordan Love is going to outplay Aaron Rodgers, but at some point, a declining veteran's doing this, a young quarterback's doing this.
If you're tired, if you're fatigued, you're tired of Aaron Rodgers. If you move on from him and you lose a bunch of years in a row, you're going to have a lot of time to rest when you get fired.
It's true.
You deal with that fatigue while you're still getting checks. As long as that direct deposit hitting, I'm going to listen to Aaron Rodgers say whatever it is he wants to say.
And that is true. There is a reason why. Why do you want Aaron Rodgers? Because he's good. Like, that's the only reason why. And I am willing to admit it. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. I find him to be so incredibly obnoxious. I think he is so selfish. I think he's so arrogant. I think he borders on stupid. I think he is so narcissistic. And yet I want him because if you don't have an elite quarterback, it's really, really hard to win in the NFL. The last 4 Super Bowls, a Hall of Fame guy, either Mahomes or Brady, has won 75% of the time. The last 10 Super Bowls, a Hall of Fame guy has won 70% of the time. 80 if Russell Wilson ends up making it to Canton, which I don't know if he will or won't. That's why. Like, this is simple. Why do you deal with Aaron's bullcrap? Because Aaron is good. That's it. I like Ryan Tannehill. You know, it's funny. After last year, and I have never backed down off of any takes that I've ever had, and if somebody ever wants to discuss them, I'm willing to discuss it. Now, most guys don't come up to me and say, you know, I think that take you had was bull crap, and here's why. Normally, they just harbor their ill feelings towards me and then pretend like either they don't know me or whatever. But I'm willing to talk about it with anybody. If David Poyle wants to set the record straight about the hockey team, we'll sit down and talk if you want to do that. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think. But last year, I flew on a plane. Ryan Tannehill was on the same plane. We're at baggage claim. We're just talking. It was me, him, his 2 kids, my dad. Just said, hey, how was your summer doing that kind of stuff? Ryan Tannehill's a good guy. And this is after I spent an entire winter and spring saying, get him out of here. Move on. Bring in Rodgers. Bring in Brady. Bring in Russell Wilson. So Tannehill's a good dude. But he's not as good as Aaron Rodgers. And I love Tannehill, the guy. And I love what he stands for. And I thought he had a good season given the fact that we were like, hey, your butt's on the line this year. And everything around him was an unmitigated disaster. But he's not as good as Aaron Rodgers. In fact, I put together a list, Ian. Let's go over this.
Okay, I'm ready.
I put together a list. So you tell me who would you vote for between Tannehill and Rodgers with these categories?
Okay.
Personality.
Tannehill.
Okay, I agree. Leadership.
I'll go Tannehill.
I would too. Handling adversity.
Tannehill seems pretty good. Rodgers gets a little pouty.
Coachability.
I'll probably go with Tannehill on that.
Selflessness.
Also Tannehill.
Humility.
None of these are trending well for Rodgers.
Doesn't do ayahuasca.
That's definitely a win for Tannehill, excuse me.
Ability to play quarterback.
Well, Rodgers gets that one.
It's Rodgers. We have to be honest about it. Let's just put it all out here on the table. I want the Titans to get Aaron Rodgers. The only reason why I want the Titans to get Aaron Rodgers is because Aaron Rodgers is good. TD asked me the question. He said, does Aaron Rodgers coming in here automatically make the Titans a contender? And I don't think Aaron Rodgers automatically coming in here makes the Titans a contender if they don't get better in other places. But they should get better in those other places, regardless of if Tannehill's the quarterback or Baker Mayfield's the quarterback or Mariota comes in to be the quarterback or Malik Willis is the quarterback. They should be trying to get better at those spots. But if they do, let's say they sign Mike McGlinchey to be the right tackle, and then they kick Nicholas Petit-Ferrer into one of the guard positions, and they draft a left tackle with the 11th overall pick. Aaron Rodgers at quarterback with Vrabel's defense and Derrick Henry running the ball. I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances playing a second-place schedule and not having to get Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen next year, knowing Jacksonville will. I'll take my chances that Aaron won't break his thumb like he did this past season. Hell, how many guys want to come here because you've got Aaron Rodgers? You think Alan Lazard would say, I'd like to go to Tennessee, put me opposite Treylon Burks? What do you think having Aaron Rodgers would do for Chicaconquo? It's not about who's the better guy. It's all about who's the better quarterback. And the answer is Rodgers. I'm just laying it out here. I want the hired gun. And it is no disrespect to Ryan Tannehill whatsoever. Do you want to know why Green Bay's put up with Aaron Rodgers' drama the last 2 years? Because he's good. Do you want to know why they put up with his drama for forever? Because he's good. And I think we need to assess that because the off-season time, I made a mistake last year of dealing with A.J. Brown's Twitter drama and thinking that's not how the Titans want to run this organization, not if they want to be like the Patriots. They want to run their organization with the sense of nobody's a distraction, nobody's bigger than the team, nobody's. And then they traded A.J. Brown, and it was like, yeah, the A.J. Twitter drama is really not that big of a deal. And that's how I feel about this. Charles Robinson, why would you want Rodgers? Mike Tannenbaum, don't you think the Packers are tired? But he's good. And even last year was a down year. We talked to all those Pro Football Focus nerds, and they all told us that, it was what was around Rodgers. It was the injury. Rodgers is fine. He's the same old Rodgers. You don't get multiple shots at an Aaron Rodgers. I want Aaron Rodgers on my team. Not because of his personality, his leadership, his ability to handle adversity, his coachability, his lack of selflessness, his humility, the fact that he's doing all these crazy ayahuascas and everything else and everything that, all those kind of things. I get it. He is a lunatic. 4 days in the darkness. No. But he's good. I want good. That's it. Nothing personal with Tannehill. It's just Aaron Rodgers is better. So to answer your question, Charles Robinson, yes, I do want to deal with Aaron Rodgers. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. TD said the context of the question that he asked was if Rodgers single-handedly makes them a contender after they went over how much money he cost. Now, I am going to say this. Aaron Rodgers is not cheap. Now, you all know how I feel about the cap. But when you ask Amy Adams Strunk to take on an extra $30 million at the quarterback position, either you're asking her to pay $30 million more for the team next year, or you got to cut $30 million out of the budget somewhere else. That is a fair point. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. There is a rumor, and I want to underline the word rumor as much as possible here because the sourcing on this is not all that great. But that's how these things start. There is a rumor about a potential player that another AFC team has interest in. And I just want to say this. If that team is allowed to have interest in this player, the Titans better have interest in him too. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025, Stillman & Company, live from Bridgestone Arena, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman & Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the fun extends beyond the beach because here the arts are alive, the food is al fresco, and the nightlife is electric. So let's forget the cold and find our place in the sun. Let's explore captivating collections at the Salvador Dali Museum and bask in bay views from the St. Pete Pier. Let's fill up on fresh caught cuisine and catch up over cold craft beer on rooftop patios. Day or night, let's shine. Plan your escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Do you own or operate a diverse small business? Expand your customer reach and access local procurement decision makers at the Nashville Area Chamber's Supplier Diversity Fair, sponsored by Truist. All diverse small businesses are invited. The fair begins at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, February 28th at City Winery. Visit NashvilleChamber.com/events to register. That's NashvilleChamber.com/events. See you on the 28th at City Winery.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with the set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What do you see for your team? Obviously, you've got a new GM, and Rand Carthon comes in, and just the direction of where the Tennessee Titans will be moving forward here.
I'm excited. Rand coming in and taking over and bringing that enthusiasm and that the success that he had at the 49ers organization, and learning from those guys over there. And they have great quality players, guys who play full tilt on all 3 phases, and hopefully we can find some guys in the draft that can come do the same thing and get some guys in free agency. But I'm always excited for a new journey. This year was tough. It's always tough when you have a lot of injuries. We saw that with San Fran in the NFC Championship game when guys go down. It's hard to replace them. So, just excited for a new year. And embracing the journey, excited to see what Rand does, and excited what we have in store for the organization for the year.
That was Derrick Henry on SiriusXM NFL Radio at the Super Bowl. And I do laugh at the fact that Derrick Henry. I actually had Ian listen to the Derrick Henry interview. It was 6 minutes of our lives that we'll never get back.
I mean, he's a nice guy, right? He sounds like a really nice kid. He was talking about helping and doing his charity stuff, but not a whole lot of insight there into what's going on.
Derek is not interested in giving insight, but he did say he's excited to see what Rand Carthon's going to do. So there is a report out of Boston. This comes via the Felger and Maz radio program on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Their producer, Jimmy Stewart, has, they call it the bat phone, where he gets some inside scoop, like he knew about the Kyrie trade before it ended up happening, things like that. And so there is a player that yesterday Jimmy Stewart reported on the Felger and Maz program that the New England Patriots are interested. And I just want you all to know that if the Patriots are allowed to be interested in this player, so should Rand Carthon.
I told you before, Stewart's phone just perked up with someone the Patriots are already sniffing around this offseason.
This is big.
And we're not making this up. Go ahead, Stu. What do you got?
Deebo Samuel. I heard the Patriots. I got a text message from an NFL talent evaluator that the Patriots are sniffing around Deebo Samuel.
Can you offer anything more? I'm just looking up the contract.
No, that's all I got.
Okay. The Patriots are sniffing around Deebo Samuel. Now, they ended up doing like 20 minutes on this, which I thought was incredible because I don't even think I can get 20 minutes out of this. But let me just say this. If Deebo Samuel is available, and I don't know why Deebo Samuel would be available, but if Deebo Samuel is available, the Titans better be interested too. If the Patriots are allowed to be sniffing around Deebo Samuel, if they are reportedly allowed to be interested in Deebo, so should the Titans. And the Titans should have the inside track on a deal for Deebo Samuel because they have a better pick than the Patriots and because Rand Carthon comes from San Francisco. Now, what I can't wrap my head around is why would Deebo Samuel be available? Like, is Deebo still unhappy even after he signed his contract last year? But just think about this. let's just say that Deebo Samuel is available. And I guess I could convince myself Deebo Samuel is available if you told me that it was because they're going to give Brandon Ayuk a humongous contract to re-sign and that they think Ayuk is a better player than Deebo or that Ayuk is healthier than Deebo, which I don't know anything about. Is Ayuk a better player than Deebo, Ian?
Who, I'm sorry?
Is Brandon Ayuk a better player than Deebo Samuel?
I don't think so. I think, they're a little bit different as far as skill sets, but I think Deebo's the more explosive big play guy.
I mean, do you think there's any chance Deebo's on the block after they gave Deebo Samuel an extension?
Ayuk on the block?
No, Deebo.
Oh, if Deebo's on the block after the extension? That is a good point. They just went through all that drama in the offseason, didn't trade him, kept him, gave him the new deal, and now they're just going to trade him again? It doesn't really make sense. But maybe they played out this season and came to some type of realization that maybe that was a mistake.
Like maybe Deebo didn't want to be there? Plus, Deebo must have been hurt last year.
He was hurt some, yeah. He missed some games, for sure, especially towards the second half of the season.
So Deebo played in 13 games last year. He had 632 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He had a down year.
Let me just say this. If Ran Carthon's first action of business was to make a deal for Deebo Samuel, he would win over the fan base overnight. I think deep down inside, the fan base really doesn't have much of a feel one way or another for Ran Carthon. I think it's probably like a smally, that's not a word. It is, by a tiny margin, a favorable impression of Ran Carthon, just off the press conferences and things like that. But I think the Titans fans and the Titans have had enough success that now it's like, okay, before we get too ahead of ourselves on whether or not we like you, we want to see you go out there and make some good moves. If he turns around and brings in Deebo Samuel as like his first big move, that would catapult him to the top for 2 reasons. Number one, because Deebo Samuel is a great player, and fans like it when general managers go out and get great players. But 2, because it would almost be replacing the A.J. Brown mistake that his predecessor made that essentially got him fired. Now, I think A.J. is a better player than Deebo Samuel, and I do wonder this. Would you trade the 11th overall pick in the draft for Deebo Samuel?
If you're asking me, I don't think so, no.
A.J. went for 18. Philadelphia had the 13th pick. Now, they also gave up, I think it was like 100 or 101. So they also gave you a 3rd-round pick to go with the 18th pick for A.J. Brown. But they didn't trade the 13th pick, which meant that Jordan Davis, the defensive tackle out of Georgia, was more important to the Eagles than A.J. Brown was, at least on draft night. I go back to say this because if A.J. was worth the 18th pick, Deebo's probably not worth the 11th pick, but I don't even think they're going to trade Deebo. And if they trade Deebo, they're going to want the 11th pick in return. But as far as popularity is concerned, first of all, I've said this, whoever it is this year that is disgruntled about their contract, and again, we saw 3 of the top 6 or 7 receivers in the NFL get traded this past year. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown. We saw 3 of the top 7 receivers in the league get traded. There will be at least one receiver who is unhappy about their contract or wants their money or something like that. I think the Titans should be in play for whomever that is. They should try to get in there, and they should try to make a play for that guy. But if it's Deebo Samuel, overnight, Ran Carthon would win over the fan base. They would be obsessed with him. Because the biggest reason, I think John Robinson got fired because of the Caleb Farley pick and the Isaiah Wilson pick and some pretty dumb things that the Titans front office did. I think you all think John Robinson got fired because he traded away A.J. Brown. And that's what you all are the most mad about. And maybe you're right and I'm wrong. But if he were to come in and get Deebo Samuel, then overnight, all of the angst towards Robinson, as mad as people are about that, would be how excited and happy they would be about Ran Carthon. So I don't know if that report is true, that the Patriots are sniffing around Deebo Samuel. I mean, I guess they can sniff his butt all they want. If San Francisco doesn't want to trade him, it doesn't matter. And San Francisco wasn't willing to trade Deebo last year. But maybe they'll be interested this year, coming off of a down year. Still probably has a lot of money owed to him. But if the Patriots are sniffing around Deebo Samuel, then I want the Titans sniffing around Deebo Samuel too. 615-737-1025. Add that to the list. 615-737-1025. We are to your phones here on Stillman and Company. And the binary choice the Titans have to make. We'll get to that. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
It's Family Leisure's President's Day sale.
Wait, President's Day?
Well, it's in honor of all our presidents, and it means great deals for everyone.
Okay, like what?
Well, pools and spas for one. Family Leisure has the largest selection and guarantees the lowest prices anywhere, even compared to the internet.
What about grills and grill islands?
Of course, everything is on sale for 4 days at Family Leisure, even the smokers, grills, and grill islands. But I am more excited about the patio furniture. The new styles are arriving, and there are still great deals on the remaining floor models.
Wow! Great prices, great selection, and guaranteed lowest prices. Sounds like a great time to shop Family Leisure.
That's right, a 4-day only sale at Family Leisure, just in time for spring.
Family Leisure, both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Hi, this is Tennessee Titans tight end and 3-time Pro Bowler Delaney Walker. On the field, I always wore my helmet and pads to make sure I was protected. Life is no different. That's why I got vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. Protection keeps you in the game. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19 today.
More information at nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willie Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Golfers, tee it up this Thursday through Sunday at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the tailor-made launch event. Get fit for the new Stealth 2 Woods, which combines speed and forgiveness to unlock forgiveness. Try the new Stealth HD irons that deliver high launch with draw bias to give you the confidence to expect better shots more often. Go to worldwidegolfshops.com and reserve your free custom fitting experience happening this Thursday through Sunday. Edwin Watts Golf Shops. Unmatched expertise, unmatched service.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
If you have that guy, you have a better than even chance with good management and good coaching to make it to the promised land, to the big dance. If you don't have that guy, everything else has to be perfect, including the alignment of the stars in terms of injuries and schedule and all that kind of thing, in order for you to make it to the promised land. It's that simple.
Bill Polian giving you what he believes is the word of wisdom, which I agree with. And he would know because he had the guy. He had Jim Kelly. He had Peyton Manning. When he had Jim Kelly, 4 Super Bowls in 4 years. When he had Peyton Manning, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl championship. Manning went 4 times in his career. And if he didn't play in a conference with Tom Brady, probably would have been a lot more. If you have the guy, you got a chance. What was it Polian said there? A better than even chance. You've got a better than even chance if you've got the guy. Which means if I own the team, it would be how do we find the guy? Aaron Rodgers is out there. Now, the list of elite quarterbacks for me, I do put Herbert in the group, and people get mad when I do that. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Rodgers. I would put Herbert in there. Like, I would take Justin Herbert as quarterback of the Titans. That's it right now. Sounds like Aaron Rodgers is out there. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. If you want to weigh in, Andrew says, paying Aaron Rodgers is like paying for a Ferrari and getting a Lexus. It's a nice upgrade over the dependable regular car, but it's nowhere near worth the price and the headache. Let's just use the last 3 years as a sample size. Because if I just used last season as the sample size for Geno Smith's career, then I'd have to pay Geno Smith $45 million. Derek Carr is going to get somewhere in the $40-45 million range. Geno Smith, you could argue, had a better season than Derek Carr. But Geno Smith's not going to get $45 million because he ain't that good. So we can't just look at last year and say, Rodgers didn't make the playoffs last year. Green Bay's no good. It certainly plays a role into it. But over the last 3 years, Aaron Rodgers has been league MVP twice, and his team, with a bozo coach, has made it to the NFC Championship game once and been the number 1 seed in the NFC twice in 3 years. Aaron Rodgers would be coming here to a team with more stability, a better coach, a good run game, a solid defense with a star player in Jeffrey Simmons, and a guy I think Aaron would respect more than the guy Aaron plays for now in Mike Vrabel. And you're not playing a first-place schedule this year. In fact, here's the one thing you have to remember. I made a big deal about this in the offseason, and everybody didn't care. But it does matter because these things add up. The Titans' schedule last year had so many good quarterbacks. I mean, the Titans' schedule 2 years ago was pretty loaded too. But last year, you're talking about Burrow and Mahomes and Allen. And then when they play in the NFC, Aaron Rodgers. They had to play against Jalen Hurts. They had to play against good quarterbacks this past year. Well, here's a list of the quarterbacks they're going to play next year. Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson, whoever Houston drafts, whoever Indy drafts, Trevor Lawrence, New Orleans, Tampa, Houston, Indy, Jacksonville, maybe Lamar Jackson with the Ravens if they sign him or he feels like playing that week, which is no guarantee. Joe Burrow, Atlanta, which I guess would be Desmond Ridder right now, Carolina, Tua, Herbert, Geno Smith. So you could 2 good quarterbacks next season. Burrow and Herbert, 2 elite guys. You know, Jackson, if he plays for Baltimore, is pretty good, and Lawrence, people like. But just look at that. That's so much easier than what you had to do last year. And so I think, the excitement of being here would probably add to Aaron. And I think Aaron's a little mad about how Green Bay's treating him. I think all those things add up. I do not think. Is Aaron Rodgers worth the headache? I don't know. But if you don't try to get Aaron Rodgers and you run it back with Tannehill, chances are you're probably in the playoffs or right there competing for a chance at making the playoffs. But you and I both know that you're probably not likely to run the gauntlet of 3 AFC quarterbacks with Tannehill as your guy. In 2019, you did it when you beat Tom Brady and Lamar Jackson, who was league MVP, but you couldn't get past the third guy, which is Mahomes. That's what you would have to do, is you'd have to go through Burrow one week, Allen the next week, Mahomes the following week. That's really, really hard to do. But if you've got Aaron Rodgers, you can get a bye. And if you've got Aaron Rodgers, you can go toe-to-toe with those quarterbacks. And if Aaron Rodgers ends up not being that good, then you're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with those guys and you're going to lose, which is the same place you're in right now. I'm not saying you don't have anything to lose, but you don't have a lot to lose. And the money's not my money to worry about. Texter into the text line says, Rand Carthon can get in on everybody's good side and win over the fan base by extending Jeffrey Simmons. The amount of people who make a big deal about extending Jeffrey Simmons or have this weird, unwarranted anxiety about the Titans not signing Jeffrey Simmons. Somebody's got to tell me where this comes from. I'm telling you right now, if I was general manager of the Titans, I could sign Jeffrey Simmons. Because I'd go to Jeffrey Simmons and I would say, what would it take to get you to sign? And he would give me some astronomical number, and I would take it back to the owner, and I would say, this is what it's going to take to sign Jeffrey Simmons. And if she said yes, then we'd do it. If she said we got to lower that a little bit, we need to negotiate it a little bit, I would. But I would tell her straight up at the end of the day, if you want Jeffrey Simmons signed, it will cost you this much, whatever this much is. Maybe we get it a little bit lower, but we have to be prepared for this. Because you don't let Jeffrey Simmons go. And they're not going to let Jeffrey Simmons go. So don't worry. Signing your own players has never been something that's excited me. You know, every year, you know, you get to free agency, and you see moves that the team makes. And I always say, okay, well, who are they going to go get? And last year I thought was a pretty good example of this with the Titans in the offseason, where it was, okay, they were a good enough team to be the number one seed. They're going to run it back with Tannehill. Who can they get to go around Tannehill? Who's going to play right tackle? Because they didn't have a right tackle that year. Who's going to play tight end? Because they didn't have a tight end that year. And then the Titans re-signed Harold Landry. And somebody said to me, well, you know, they signed Harold Landry, so that's kind of a big deal. And I said, but they already had Harold Landry. That's like all of you that got all worked up one way or another about the Predators signing Philip Forsberg. And it's like, you already have Philip Forsberg. You don't get better by signing Philip Forsberg for more money. You don't get better by re-signing Jeffrey Simmons. You stay the same. But they're going to re-sign Jeffrey Simmons. So this idea that Rand Carthon would get all this credit if he turns around and gives Jeffrey Simmons $28 million a year, which is probably the going rate for a defensive tackle not named Aaron Donald, to me is not some superhuman amount of work. They will re-sign Jeffrey Simmons. And if there's anybody who guaranteed that Jeffrey, you know what, Ian? Dun, 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 dun. I guarantee. Thank you. I guarantee the Tennessee Titans will re-sign Jeffrey Simmons. Because if there was any chance they wouldn't, what A.J. Brown did this last year in Philadelphia and what he did in that Super Bowl guarantees that the Titans will not give away an elite player in their prime. I guarantee that they will sign Jeffrey Simmons to an extension. May not happen right away. May be a little dirty. May make you a little nervous. May be a little he said coming out of training camp. But they will sign Jeffrey Simmons. By the way, how are we doing so far in our guarantees of late?
That's a good. Let's see. The last one I have here is from 10/26/22. Jared guarantees that Tannehill will start this week versus Houston after his ankle sprain.
Yeah, that one didn't work out well.
Guess not.
Nope. What's any before that?
Let's see. Before that, Jared guarantees Goodell will drop the hammer and suspend Watson for the entire season. Monday, August 1st, 22. Also incorrect. And then
I guess that is true. He didn't drop the hammer.
He didn't drop the hammer.
He kind of dropped it, but he didn't.
Not the entire season. So
yeah, 12 games.
So
Okay, what's next?
Before that was Jared guarantees Alexander Carrier won't be on the Preds team in 2 years. That was Tuesday, May the 31st in 22. So you got a year on that one still.
Still got a year on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think my one before that was that Corey Davis will never make the Pro Bowl with the Jets.
I don't have that one. I have Jared guarantees Forsberg will re-sign with the Preds this offseason. That was Monday, the May the 23rd. So that was correct.
So if there's anyone to bank on me, it's the obvious the guy will resign.
And you got a Dylan Radins guarantee in here that he will not start at right tackle in 2022.
Thank you.
So there you go.
So about 50-50. I guarantee Jeffrey Simmons will sign an extension. You do not have to worry about, is Rand Carthon going to be able to sign Jeffrey Simmons? Yes, I guarantee it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. I was rooting for the Chiefs on Sunday. Now, I might have to change my mind, even though the game's already over and they already won. I'll explain. Stillman and Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You can trek through the savannas of Africa. Wait on the magic moment on the Great Plains of North America. Or find the thrills of Patagonia. You can book your dream hunt at the SEI Convention, coming to Nashville for the very first time. Come find your adventure February 22nd through February 25th. It's the ultimate sportsman's market, a place for every hunter. And this year, it's happening Music City style, with sold-out performances by Big and Rich and Leonard Skinner. But you can still find your outdoor adventure and rock out with the Frontman with Gretchen Wilson. It's a celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, February 22nd through February 25th. Come find your adventure. Just log on to safariclub.org. One more time, that's safariclub.org. This convention will sell out, so reserve your spot today. Come find your adventure.
This week at the Electronic Express President's Day sale, get instant savings of up to 40% off at every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't forget, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop the President's Day sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
It's Quaz with Little Harpeth, and I'm just having one of our Chicken Scratch American Pilsners. It's one refreshing beer and a good example of the German lagers that we craft right here in Nashville. Chicken Scratch is made with locally sourced raw white corn, giving it a subtle cornbready sweetness. And speaking of sweetness, Chicken Scratch's closest associate goes by the name of Deer Crossing Hellas, also a lager with a light, crisp body and golden color, and it won us a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival. So be on the lookout for our craft lagers. And as always, thank you for supporting our little brewery.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official 2022 stats are in, and the Pella brand is rated #1 by Nashville homeowners for windows and doors. One reason, Nashville homeowners selected Pella Windows #1 for the highest quality craftsmanship. Another key stat, Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is also rated #1 for the brand that stands behind their product. If you need new doors or windows, the choice is clear. Choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
How does it feel to get two? What's the first feel? What is it? Is it different?
It hasn't even sat in yet. I think just the time of my career I got it, and the failure of the last 2 years of losing the Super Bowl and then losing an AFC Championship game. This one hits different. The first one, it was all like happy-go-lucky, everything like that. This one, you appreciate the hard work that it took to get here.
There you go. That was Patrick Mahomes after the Super Bowl. So humble, so honest, and yet always thanking the team. I salute Patrick Mahomes. I'm happy for Mahomes. I'm happy for Andy Reid. I was rooting for the Chiefs on Sunday night. I don't know why I was rooting for the Chiefs, but I was. Was it because AJ was on the Eagles? I don't know. Was it because everybody wants to tell me that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback when I don't think he is? I don't know. Is it because I think Philadelphia fans are obnoxious, which they are? I don't know. But I was rooting for the Chiefs on Sunday night. Now, I still was mad that they called the holding and that's what decided the Super Bowl. I was hoping Jalen Hurts would get a shot, throw an interception or whatever, and then the Chiefs would win. I was rooting for the Chiefs. Then I saw their victory parade yesterday. I don't care about guys chugging beer. I don't care about guys holding up the trophy. I don't even care about Travis Kelce's obnoxious Master P, make him say, that he was doing the other. Whatever, I don't care about that. But there is a line of victimhood that has come out of the Kansas City locker room that is absolutely absurd. And here's an example of it yesterday at the Kansas City Chiefs victory parade.
Before we started this season, the AFC West said we were rebuilding. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what rebuilding means. I just want to let y'all know that this is just the beginning. We ain't done yet.
The haters were saying that the Chiefs would never make the playoffs. The haters were saying the Chiefs were done. If y'all knew that Patrick Mahomes was gonna win the MVP, let me get a hell yeah!
Okay. What? Who said the Chiefs were rebuilding? Who said that? Did anybody say the Chiefs were rebuilding?
I think some people were a little bit skeptical of the Tyreek Hill trade and what that meant.
Right. There's a difference between saying, I think Buffalo might beat them, and
rebuilding.
They're the worst team in that division. Nobody said that. And so Kansas City all week has been doing this. Nobody picked us. What?
I do think a lot of people were picking other teams to win that division this time last year, or, before the season started.
The idea that people weren't considering Kansas City a contender is ridiculous. Nobody ever thought that Kansas City wasn't going to compete with that quarterback. And I don't know who they're circling, or not that my opinion counts here, but I had them in the playoffs. How can you not have Kansas City? How could you not have Kansas City? And so, again, I find that to be so obnoxious that I'm now rooting against the Chiefs again. It's like it was a nice 2.5 hours or 3 hours or however long the Super Bowl was on Sunday that I was rooting for Kansas City, and I like Mahomes, and I like Andy Reid, who has come on the show before. I like those guys, but I am now rooting against the Chiefs. Why am I rooting against the Chiefs? Because of that. Because of that bravado of nobody picked us to win, and Kansas City actually was picked by almost everybody. They've been to 5 straight AFC championships. Tom Brady did this. a couple of years ago when they won the AFC at Kansas City. And Tom Brady was like, I know a lot of people thought that we weren't any good this year. Tom, who are you talking about? You've been good for 20 years. The Patriots have made it to the playoffs almost every year except the year you got hurt. Who is saying the Patriots aren't any good? We are not equating you to the Detroit Lions. Nobody picked us to win. Really? And it is not a crime, and it is not a slight to pick Cincinnati, who had beaten Kansas City 3 times in a row. It's not the end of the world. Burrow's a great quarterback. They're going to play next year on Sunday Night Football, and it wouldn't shock me if they play again next year in the playoffs. And it wouldn't shock me if Burrow wins, and it wouldn't shock me if Mahomes wins. But to act like nobody picked him. You also got the most favorable whistle I have ever seen. Not just with that holding call in the Super Bowl, but that AFC Championship game was ridiculous. So I got to tell you, I hate the Chiefs now. I was rooting against the Chiefs for most of this year. I can't tell you why. I wasn't really rooting for or against the Bills. I like Joe Burrow. I obviously, I didn't like the hype that Jacksonville was getting. I think when like a quarterback that I don't think is that good starts getting treated like a great quarterback, like Lawrence and Hurts were this year, that's when I think I kind of take offense to it. And I'm like, look, man, Jalen Hurts had a good year. So did Matthew Stafford last year. So did Carson Wentz 5 years ago. I mean, a lot of guys have had good. Matt Ryan was league MVP, got to a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan's never been league MVP since. Let's have Jalen maybe earn it a little bit more. And then let's give Jalen the accolades of being an elite quarterback. Not just one trip to the Super Bowl with a great team around him. So I think maybe that anger drives me to when I feel like guys are anointed great quarterbacks before I feel like they've really accomplished it. Maybe that's what led me to pick the Chiefs. But after that obnoxious line of nobody picked us, they said we were rebuilding. What? Nobody says any team that has a quarterback is rebuilding, has an elite quarterback. Nobody said the Chargers were rebuilding. Nobody said that the Ravens were rebuilding. Nobody said that the Bengals were rebuilding. Nobody said that you were rebuilding because you weren't rebuilding because you were, again, you've got the best tight end in the league. You've got the best quarterback in the game. You're never going to be rebuilding. That's like Joe Burrow a couple weeks ago said, the championship window is my whole career. He's right. Because as long as you got Joe Burrow, you are fine. As long as you got a Joe Burrow. Texter says, the Patriots created the narrative, us versus everyone every year. Jared, you also said the Chiefs weren't as good as the Bengals. You said that Burrow was better than Mahomes. You were wrong on both accounts. Let me say this. I'd like to see the Bengals and the Chiefs play again. Chiefs won the game. I'm not going to say they won the game fair and square because I didn't think the way that game was refereed was fair and square, but I'm not, the ref screwed us guy. I personally still think Burrow is better than Mahomes. And that's, we're talking about the difference of an eyelash. I think they are both at the top of the game, and I think that right now, Mahomes is the hot guy of the moment. But next year, if Burrow gets the Bengals back to the Super Bowl, which he's very capable of, we'll flip a script on it. Right? If I had to pick between the two right now, I think I'd pick Joe Burrow. But I would like to have the choice between the two and then call you from that instance. 615-737-1025. The Predators are playing the best team in the NHL tonight. Hal Gill will join us later next hour. We'll get into it, as we always do. But the one thing that I really hope the Predators don't make me regret, we'll get to next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
Haskins again doesn't get it. Jaguars have won the AFC South.
We talk the game.
The offensive side of the football for the Titans, who should be back next season.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Preds Report.
Presented by New Nissan. To say the Predators are facing a huge challenge tonight would definitely qualify as an understatement. Their opponents, the Boston Bruins, the first team in the league to 40 wins. 40 wins, 9 losses, and a total of 5 overtime points. They have a plus 81 goal differential so far this season. And, yes, you can gather from that they have a pretty well-rounded scoring machine. David Pastrnak, who had the game winner in overtime the other night in Dallas, leads them with a total of 39 goals. They have a total of 11 players in double-digit goal scoring this season. So the Predators and the Boston Bruins tonight. Pre-game show underway at 6. The game will be coming your way at 7 o'clock. Hope you can join us for all the action on the Fifth Third Bank Nashville Predators Radio Network.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
What's up, Nashville? Jeremy here at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are a trendy, upscale, full-service bar and cigar lounge in the heart of downtown. 2 blocks from Bridgestone Arena, Ryman Auditorium, and Nissan Stadium. Come check out the best old-fashioned in Nashville and let my excellent staff create your next luxury experience. With our state-of-the-art ventilation system and imported leather furniture, make us your next stop for a night out on the town. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are luxury redefined.
Stop! Are you about to pay too much for new furniture? Then you need to come by Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. Their President's Day sale is going on now. You can buy your new furniture today and get it today. But you do not have to pay today. During Social Furniture's President's Day sale, they have special financing for up to 60 months with no money down. Sectional sofas, mattresses, dining sets, bedroom sets, and more are up to 50% off. At Social Furniture, they say yes, yes, yes.
Hey, Heather, when we ran into you and Mark the other day, you guys looked so happy.
Aw, thanks, Tiffany. We are.
Oh, I hate to say it, but Jim and I aren't doing very well lately.
Oh, what's going on?
Well, Jim's always tired. He never wants to do anything. When we try being intimate, he doesn't seem to be into it, at all. I wonder if he's even attracted to me anymore.
Oh my gosh, we had the same problem. I thought Mark was having an affair. Then we went to the Tennessee Men's Clinic and learned he just had a medical condition. The Tennessee Men's Clinic specializes in low testosterone and ED. And after some testing and treatments, our sex life is the best it's been in years.
Oh my goodness, that makes me feel better. Sounds like the Tennessee Men's Clinic is just what Jim needs. How does he get in contact?
It's easy. You can book appointments online or just give them a call.
Your first visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic is only $99. They have multiple treatment options for low T and ED. Book your appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Now, your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. The Nashville Predators are back on the Bridgestone Arena ice tonight as they host top seed in the East, the Boston Bruins. Preds assistant coach Dan Hino was on Robbie and Rexroad this morning and talked about tonight's matchup.
This could be the perfect platform for us to propel into, a streak, right? You come out and play well against Boston and you gain the confidence of that's the best this league has to offer, and we went toe-to-toe with them. We can play against anybody. Right, but that's how we need to come out of this game. You can play the best game in the world and not win. We understand that. But you need to know that you can hang toe-to-toe with a team like Boston to give yourself the kind of confidence that we need to put a streak together. So to me, this is a perfect opportunity for our team to kind of get going in that direction.
Puck drop tonight for Preds versus Bruins is set for 7, with pregame at 6, right here on the Preds Radio Network. On the college hardwood, the Vols got a big win over top-ranked Alabama last night. And coming up at 5:30 on 94.9 The Fan, the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders take on FAU. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Tonight, your Nashville Predators take on the Boston Bruins. Coverage begins at 6 on your home for Smashville. WPRT FM Pegram, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
A Cromwell Media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios, Bridgestone Arena. Preds and Bruins tonight. Max will have the pregame show in 1 hour. So let me say this. I'm going to the game tonight. Adam Vingan coming to the game with me. And we're going to watch the best team in the NHL take on the Predators. Now, I'm going to be sitting in my seats tonight, the same seats that I sat in to watch one of the worst teams in the NHL that is actively trying to lose beat the Predators the other night. And that was hard to watch. I am going to root for the Predators. But you would think that that's easy to say because I'm a Predators fan. But it is hard for me today to put my foot down and say, I want the Predators to win. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I see one of two things happening tonight. I either see the Predators eking out a victory, 2-1, 3-2, in which the Predators put up about 24 shots and they slip a couple in against the backup goalie from Boston. Or I see the Bruins coming in here and beating the Predators 6-1, 5-1, something like that. I mean, just blowing the doors off of them. It's one or the other. I don't see the Bruins eking out a close victory. And I don't see the Predators blowing out the best team in the league. Now, let's analyze if these two things happen. If the Predators eke out a victory, because UC Saros, who's a really good goalie, I don't think he's the best goalie in the league, but he's really, really good. He's probably top 5 right now in the league. Let's say he steals this game. Boston puts up 43 shots. He gives up 1 goal, and the Predators end up winning. What I'm afraid of is the narrative that will come out of that game is, see, this team just needed a game like this against the Bruins to reset. This team can compete. This team showed they can compete because this team beat the Boston Bruins, and until about a week ago, the Boston Bruins were in the discussion with the Montreal Canadiens of 40 years ago for the best team who ever played ever. Well, we know that that's not true. We know that the Predators cannot consistently play with these kind of teams on a year-in and year-out basis. We know that they can't compete with them if they were to get matched up into a best-of-7 series. We saw that last year. We begged on this program for the Predators to sell ahead of the trade deadline in 2021 because we knew with the weird fakakta COVID divisions, we knew that the Predators were going to draw either Tampa Bay or Carolina. And we, on this program, knew that they couldn't beat them. Never want to say never, but we knew. And we said, don't go for it. Don't add any players. Don't be honest with yourselves. They couldn't do it. They didn't sell anybody. They added Eric Goodbranson at the trade deadline. They got beat in the first round by Carolina. Last year, the team fell apart down the stretch at the end of the season. They got put into the playoffs. And I remember when UC Saros got hurt. And I said, there's the excuse. There it is. When they lose, that'll be the excuse we hear is, well, we didn't have our goalie. But if they had held on to was it 4-0, Max, was it 4-0 against Arizona last game of the year last year?
I think that sounds right. Lost
4-0.
5-4.
Yeah. They were up 4-0 and they blew the lead. And so instead of playing Calgary, they had to play Colorado. They got their doors kicked in by Colorado, and they said, we promise we think we can compete next year. Well, right now the Predators have an 18% chance of making it to the playoffs. David Poyle is even saying on Robbie and Rex Road that he's thinking about selling. For a normal person, it's hard to admit the team that I put together isn't good enough and we're thinking about selling. For David Poile, that's like asking him to remove an arm and hand it to you. He can't do it. And so he's on the brink with this club right now of we're not buyers. We're probably going to have to end up being sellers. The last thing that the thing I fear about is if you beat the Bruins, that David Poile, who wants to look at it as glass half full, David Poile will say, hey, we beat the Bruins, all's good in the world. Let's go trade a second-round pick for Jeremy Lozon again. I don't want that. You know, sometimes being at rock bottom is not a bad thing. Go back to that 2021 season when the Predators turned it around. It was the Monday of the opening of free agency. The Predators played a game at Tampa Bay at like noon. Pekka Rinne played, and all these guys either got COVID or were hurt, I can't remember, and they called up a bunch of Carriers and Jeannots and Eeli Tolvanen and all those guys, and they went on the road and they beat Tampa Bay. And we didn't make too much of it at the time, but that was what turned that season around, that one game. And then they got hot down the stretch, and they edged out Dallas, and they made it to the playoffs. And then they decided, we're going to compete. We're going to try to compete. And they thought something that wasn't true. At that moment in 2021, if they had lost, they could have become sellers. They could have sold off on Mikael Granlund before extending him to a deal where he makes too much money now. They could have sold off on guys that they've extended and locked into long-term contracts. They could have gotten a more favorable contract with Philip Forsberg if they had said, look, dude, we're not going to be competitive, so we're going to trade you somewhere unless you take our deal right now. But they didn't. They held on for dear life, signed all these guys to extensions, and now they're really locked in. So was making the playoffs in 2021, was that good for the franchise? Can we sit here today and look at that season where they lost in 6 games and say, you know what, it's a good thing that team made the playoffs? Because I can't. If they get blown out tonight by the Bruins, which with the firepower Boston has, I think is possible. If they get blown out, let's say it's 6-2, and it's just a shellacking tonight, which again, I'm rooting against, but I think it's a legitimate possibility. If that happens, the amount of Boston Bruins fans that will be inside of Bridgestone Arena tonight, you will hear a loud and excited "Let's go Bruins" chant. It will be one of those moments that I don't even think ownership can ignore. They come to the games. They sit in the crowd. It's one of those things where last year I have a buddy who's an athletic director. He's the athletic director at Louisville. He fired the basketball coach last year. And I talked to him about the moment of when you know. And it's always for an athletic director or a general manager or a president or whomever, owner. It's always a moment of sitting in the crowd, looking at your team and saying, no mas. John Robinson got canned because the Titans got their rear end spanked so bad by Philadelphia. My guess is she was probably thinking about it, and that pushed it over the top. Would she have fired him if they had won that game? I highly doubt it. So I hope the Predators win tonight. I really do. But of the two possibilities, they win by eking out a victory thanks in large part single-handedly to their goalie, who is the only reason that they're not a Chicago or an Arizona or one of those loser teams. And selling false hope is not something I'm interested in. If they win tonight against Boston, we should say, hey, good for them. They're still clearly trying to give these fans something to cheer about. They're still fighting, even though the general manager talked about selling. They're still not very good, but you know what? They gave us a good show. But don't read in too much to what it is and say, we beat the Bruins, we're back, baby. According to Money Puck, if the Predators were to win tonight, their playoff chances, not chances of being competitive in the playoffs, but their playoff chances improved from 17 or 18% right now to 22%. Woo! A 1 in 4 chance of making the playoffs. We weren't even happy with them making the playoffs last year and getting smacked in the first round. We're going to be happy with it this year. If they lose, it's down to a 14.6% chance. They got a big week coming up. They play the best team in the league here. They play Florida here on Saturday. Then they go to Minnesota and they play on Sunday. I believe this franchise needs a hard reset. Sometimes being chopped down to the bottom is what forces you into that hard reset. Let's just enjoy the game tonight, but let's also be realistic of where this team is regardless of the outcome. Don't make me wish like I wished that the 2021 season had now gone in the opposite direction so the team could have started their rebuild then. Don't make me wish that I had rooted against the Predators tonight. Don't make me wish that I had rooted for the Bruins to come in here and knock out the Predators and have the Let's Go Bruins. I don't want that. I want to be able to support my team, but I want the people who run my team to be realistic about what my team is. And if you're going to let one win over the Bruins, if you're going to let that be what changes your mind one way or another, then you got to see a different result. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll do one more segment of your wonderful phones at 615-737-1025. Plus, Elliot Friedman explains why the Predators did not think about rebuilding in the past. And I think it is foolish. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here at 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Austin Dillon wins at Daytona.
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent of the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address out the street. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1150 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willie Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Ghost Re-Imperator USA 2023. This Sunday night, Ascend Amphitheater. Ghost, presented by 102.9 The Buzz. Special guest, Amon Amarth. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Ghost, part of the Journeys concert series.
Golfers, tee it up this Thursday through Sunday at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the tailor-made launch event. Get fit for the new Stealth 2 Woods, which combines speed and forgiveness to unlock forgiveness. Try the new Stealth HD irons that deliver high launch with draw bias to give you the confidence to expect better shots more often. Go to worldwidegolfshops.com and reserve your free custom fitting experience happening this Thursday through Sunday. Edwin Watts Golf Shops. Unmatched expertise, unmatched service.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The team last year, even though they got wiped out in the first round of the playoffs without Saros, they gave Poyle reason to pause. And now I think the question is going to be, he's not, look, he basically said it, they're not a buyer, and now we're going to see what they're going to do. And I think he's going to try to move a defenseman. I'm not convinced it's Ekholm. I don't think it's going to be Carrier. I think it's like a Fabro or something else there, and we'll see what he does up front. But I agree with you. I don't think they're buyers.
There you go. That was Elliot Friedman, Hockey Night in Canada insider, on the Jeff Merrick podcast on Sportsnet saying, yeah, I don't think the Predators are buyers. No, duh. They got a 17% chance of making it to the playoffs. But one thing that kind of bothered me, just a little bit, bothered me that Elliot Friedman was talking about, which is why the Predators haven't sold over the last couple of years. In fact, I wanted to sell at the 2020 deadline. I wanted to sell off Granlund, who was a pending free agent. I wanted to sell off on Craig Smith, who was a pending free agent and whom will actually be playing tonight for the Bruins. And the Predators got nothing in return for Craig Smith. And I wanted, fourth-round picks, third-round picks, second-round picks, fifth. I don't care. I just wanted picks because all of these little picks can turn into a Roman Josi or a Matthias Ekholm or a Pekka Rinne, or a UC Saros, whatever. None of those guys were first-round picks. I want picks. Picks. So I want them in 2020 because I didn't think this team was going to compete. And they said, no, we're going to try to compete. Fine. Then, in 2021, I wanted picks. Granlund was a pending free agent. Eric Holla was a pending free agent. I forget who else was a pending free agent, but I wanted picks. And they were like, no. We'll trade a fourth-round pick for Eric freaking Goodbranson. Remember that Eric Goodbranson absolutely stunk. Then last year, team was okay. Still kind of skeptical. Everybody was having career years, but they were playing okay. I forget exactly if the wheels had completely fallen off by the time they got to the trade deadline. I don't think they had. But then they turned around and traded a second-round pick for Jeremy Lozon, and the league pointed a finger at the Predators and laughed at him. And I thought, oh, no, why? Well, this year they're not going to buy. But Elliot Friedman explains why those years that they bought, they didn't sell.
This is kind of a couple years in the making, and it was a couple of years ago that Poyle was, faced with the decision, do we, and I don't know, completely blow it up or just tear it down a little bit, take a few bricks out of here, maybe move this window over there and, maybe, tear down the garage and build something new. They were looking at doing something by way of rebuild a couple of seasons ago until UC Saros said, not on my watch, David, not on my watch.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think also, too, some players had really big years last year. Forsberg had a big year. Duchesne had a big year. Josi is Josi. They overachieved last year. I think a lot of people thought they were going to be worse than they were. But they played well. And, there's a business aspect to this, too. Like we've talked about this. Like sometimes people who say tear down, they don't have financial skin in the game. And when you're kind of looking at it that way, it can change your decisions.
Okay. Now, here's where I differ from who he's talking about. I do, in a roundabout way, have financial skin in the game. I host the Drive Time afternoon show on the flagship station of the Nashville Predators. The Predators winning is great for business. The Titans winning, we're not the flagship. The Titans winning is good for business. The Predators winning is great for business. And I know because I've lived it. Like, I lived in the 2018 season. I saw what that was like from a business perspective. I always joke about the fact that when we agreed to do the Jared and the GM program, that they told us, hey, we'll do 2 years. And if this thing, gets off the ground and does well, then we want to do it as long as possible. And if after 2 years, show stinks, then, obviously I understand what that means. Well, the Predators went to the Cup final the first year of the Jared and the GM program, and we never looked back. I mean, this show exploded in that 2018 spring. We did things that we didn't even think were possible at the radio station then. Now, we've done better than that because I think we've built that audience from there. But we needed that. I mean, I will say this, we needed that. It is great for our business when the Predators are good. So unlike who Elliot Friedman's talking about with, I know it's easy to say tear it down, but you don't have financial skin in the game, I kind of do. And I believe it is in the best interest of the Predators, and from a business standpoint, and from a Jared radio station standpoint, I think it is in the best interest of the Predators to wave the white flag right now. I think it is in the best interest to sell, and I think it's in the best interest to sell pieces that I know they're not going to sell. I think it's in their best interest to trade the goalie. And every time that comes up, you wouldn't trade the goalie. Why? Well, if we trade the goalie, Jared, we won't be any good. What are you now? You're not good. Who's your top prospect? Oh, it's the goalie you used the 11th pick on 3 years ago. He's one step away. So you're not good now with the goalie, who if you traded, you would get a haul for. Especially with one of these teams, like an Edmonton or a Toronto or one of these teams where the general manager's on the hot seat. So he'll deal a first-round pick, 2 years from now. He'll deal he'll deal whatever it takes to get the goalie, because if he doesn't have the goalie and he loses in the playoffs, he's fired. He's not going to get to use those picks anyways. So they'll give you whatever it takes to get your goalie. And you'll clear that $5 million in cap space, which is a lot of money. And he's a great goalie. But you will have turned him from a third-round pick into this massive haul that you get in return, and your top prospect, who you use the 11th overall pick, will probably be ready next year to be your goalie. I think that's in the best interest of the team. And that means that a lean year is probably coming. But what are we experiencing right now? Maybe they disagree with me because they see the financial budget of hosting 2 home playoff games against Colorado last year. I would argue 2 home playoff games, the second of which was as dead as I have seen a Bridgestone Arena playoff game my entire life. And this goes back to going to playoff games when they played the mighty Detroit Red Wings and didn't have a chance. That's how it felt in Game 4 of that Colorado series last year. So maybe those 2 home playoff games are worth it. But if the Predators decide not to sell, and they roll back the same thing that they've been doing this upcoming season. Let's say David Poile stays on as general manager, and the Predators bring back the same group of guys, the Forsbergs, the Duchesnes, the Johanssons, the guys for years and years and years they've been running out there. Nobody in this town is going to believe in this team. Nobody believed in this team after last year. They said, trust us. We've seen what trusting you gets us. The truth is, lean years are coming no matter what. So you might as well embrace it now. They ran from it in 21. They ran from it in 22. They ran from it in 20. The lean years are coming. So I think from a business standpoint, it's better to just get them out of the way, see if your Yossi group with Yossi and Forsberg and Ekholm, and see if that group can come in with the next set of young guys, and that in 2 or 3 years that you're back towards the top of the Western Conference. Dallas missed the playoffs 2 years ago. Dallas fired their coach last year, something that is, how dare you think about doing that around here? They're back towards the top of the Western Conference. But the lean years are going to happen no matter what. It's like paying off a credit card. You're going to have to pay for it at some point. Might as well pay for it right now when you're not winning anyways. 615-737-1025. I did promise your phones, and then I got carried away. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Michael from Missouri. Jared, you've touched on a lot of my issues with the Predators or David Poile recently. Long-term deals for guys who don't merit them. Complaining that guys don't replicate career years, which are called career years for a reason. And Forsberg, Duchesne, and Yossi each had one of their best offensive seasons in Preds history. I could go on and on. I've been a Preds fan since before they played a game, and I'm really starting to resent the narrative. We, the fans, are not stupid, and they're treating us like we are, and it's beyond frustrating. Sorry for the essay. I know that feeling. 615-737-1025. Hal Gill will join us to discuss the state of this team and this game tonight. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. I love Hiller. They've been taking care of my home for years, and they can do the exact same for you. Kick off the new year with new upgrades for your home. This month, when you buy something you need for your home, Hiller will give you something you want. Pick your prize. Get a free 55-inch TV, an Apple iPad, a Solo Stove, or a Nintendo Switch when you purchase a new whole home generator, or select new HVAC systems. Or get a free 55-inch TV, a Nintendo Switch, or a Solo Stove when you upgrade to a new tankless water heater. There's no better time to take care of your necessary home replacements than right now with my friends at Hiller. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
I think it's a really good move. TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you can't deny it anymore. Your hair is not as thick as it used to be, and it's making you feel self-conscious. Hair Club is here to save the day. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair and feel confident again. No matter what stage of hair loss, they can help. Hair Club can customize a solution just for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase.
Get ready for the power of Godsmack on their new world tour with special guest I Prevail, May 23rd, First Bank Amphitheater. Featuring songs from their new album, Lighting Up the Sky. Until this Friday, 10 a.m. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at LiveNation.com.
It's Family Leisure's President's Day sale.
Wait, President's Day?
Well, it's in honor of all our presidents, and it means great deals for everyone.
Okay, like what?
Well, pools and spas for one. Family Leisure has the largest selection and guarantees the lowest prices anywhere, even compared to the internet.
What about grills and grill islands?
Of course, everything is on sale for 4 days at Family Leisure, even the smokers, grills, and grill islands. But I am more excited about the patio furniture. The new styles are arriving, and there are still great deals on the remaining floor models.
Wow! Great prices, great selection, and guaranteed lowest prices. Sounds like a great time to shop Family Leisure.
That's right, a 4-day only sale at Family Leisure, just in time for spring.
Family Leisure, both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Teron Davenport here from Superbook Sports. Make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com and start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
Kyle Larson from the outside lane crosses the start-finish line.
2023 season gets underway in Daytona.
Denny Hamlin gets turned and they're wadding it up in the back of the pack.
For the great American race.
And at age 23, Austin Cindric has scored the Daytona 500 win.
It's the Daytona 500.
Coverage begins at 12:30 on 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, it's ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company live at Bridgestone Arena. Preds and Bruins tonight. The best team in the NHL. The Predators season on the brink. Hal Gill is with us as always here. Hal, let's start with this. Your reaction to what happened Tuesday night and where this team finds itself.
Yeah, that was disappointing for sure. You know, it was one of those games where slow start, a good second, and then you're like, okay, they should take this game over. If they raise their game up to where it should be, they should come away with a win. And it's not always that easy. I feel like Arizona just packed it in, and I almost felt like Arizona was going to give it to them. And the Preds just couldn't capitalize on it. So disappointing for sure, but. You're going to have those games throughout a year where you're doing all the things right. You're just not getting it done. But the timing for having one of those games, just not good timings, because they needed that. They needed those 2 points.
I am worried about tonight's game, Al.
What makes you worried about playing against the best team in the NHL?
What I'm really
by 7 points.
What I'm really worried about.
What makes you worried about it, Jared?
Everything. But I'm worried about either outcome here, right? I think one of two outcomes happens tonight. Either UC Saros plays a vintage Saros game where Boston throws up 43 shots, he saves 42 of them, and the team ekes out a 2-1 win, or the Bruins come in here and light it up, and it's like a 6-2 final, and they're chanting "Let's go Bruins" with all the Bruin fans that'll be in here tonight, and I feel like both are bad. If the team ekes out the victory, I worry that'll give people false hope that this team is something they're not. But if they get crushed, I mean, you never want the team to get crushed at home.
Well, here's my take, and I understand what you're saying, but I look at it as this way. This team is going in a disappointing after a disappointing loss. This is a huge challenge for them, and this. If this doesn't get your attention, there's something wrong with you. You're playing against the best team, and so you need to have that compete level. So you're expecting everyone to be competing, and they need everyone to compete in this game. So now the thought for me is that if the Preds can go out, compete against this team, put up a fight, and show that they belong, I think it gives David Poile, John Hines, the brass, I feel like it gives them – okay, this is the team that we have, because you should have everyone on board for this game. You need everyone on board. And so I think that says a lot about this team. And I don't look at the results. I just look at the way the game is played. I think they need to focus on the way they play the game. And so this is a big challenge for them. And I think on the other side, I hate to say it, but if you go out there and Boston can embarrass a team. They can make a team look bad, and they've been doing it all year against really everyone. So if you take a beating tonight and you can't compete, that's going to be disappointing, to say the least.
Hal Gill's with us. If you played on this team and you heard what David Poile said on Robbie and Joe the other day, and I'm sure you would, about we're definitely not a buyer, and right now we're heading towards being a seller, how would you interpret that as a player?
I think here's my thought is this team, if everyone plays, and I was just speaking on it, if this team, everyone plays the way they're supposed to play, they don't need, I don't think they have gaps in their game. I don't think right now you just have players that are underperforming. And so if you get everyone going and everyone playing the right way, I don't think they need to be a buyer. You have a good, solid D-core that I like. I like the D-core that they have. You have the goaltending. You have guys that can score goals. They're just not scoring right now. You have the herd line, the beast line that goes out there, and they can do their job. They can dictate the way a game is played. You have young guys that can chip in and down through a playoff stretch or going into the playoffs, making a run for the playoffs, these guys can perform. So I don't think there's ever really a need to go and be a buyer. And why would you sell part of your future to buy when you don't see an immediate need? But you are looking for those guys to take you up to the next level. You know, you're looking for Duchesne, Johansson, Gronlund, for these guys to step up their game and get it done. You need those guys. And so that's where I think, the next couple of games are going to dictate the way this team is going. But I didn't see this team as ever being in a position to go and be a buyer.
When I hear you guys say things like, you need Duchesne and Johansson and Granlund, and you need those guys to really step it up. I kind of sit here and I'm like, haven't we kind of been saying that for like the last 3 or 4 years? And then sometimes Duchesne steps it up and has a year like he had last year, or Granlund has the year that he had 2 years ago, or Johansson will have a week or week and a half where he plays really well.
I think that's where this team is at right now. Those guys, you need your best players to be your best players. We're playing against the Boston Bruins.
I know, but haven't we
the
been
Boston
waiting
Bruins
on that for
are
a while?
driven by Patrice Bergeron that competes. He's their best player, and he competes every night. Pastrnak is going to produce every night. He's very rarely will you see Marchand not be a pest and not dictate the way the game is played. And you need that from your top guys. So I think, and it's a fine line. If those guys have half the year that they had last year, you have 5 more wins, and you're safely in the playoff picture laughing. And I know you say, hey, this has been a bad season. They're not where they need to be. But literally it is 3 to 5 games difference, and they could be in the picture. And Arizona's one of those games where they just didn't compete.
At Montreal.
Montreal, that was a game they didn't get what they should have gotten those wins, and they should have been driven by their top players. And so, that's a challenge for these guys to go out and get to that next level, because that's all it is 3 to 5 wins and you're in the playoffs.
But is that really fair, though, to expect this out of those guys? You bring up the Bruins. I mean, probably all 3 of those guys are going to end up in the Hall of Fame. And none of the guys on the Predators are going to end up in the Hall of Fame. So you're asking, that'd be like saying, I need Ryan Tannehill to play at the same level as Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's never going to happen.
I'm not saying, I don't think there's anyone like Patrice Bergeron. I think he's one of the most phenomenal players, all-around players. Pastrnak, certainly one of the best scorers. Marchand plays his role. These guys all have a role, and they all play it, but they all compete at that level. And if you're going to make big money, if you're going to get your $8 million over 8 years, you got to be consistent and play to that level, and that's what you expect. You can't just go out and say, no, McDavid had a bad night, or, your best players had a bad night. That's unacceptable, and there's been too many of those bad nights. And you need not just scoring points. I'm talking about driving the play. If you watch a game today, Patrice Bergeron will drive the play. He's going to make sure he might not be on the scoreboard, but you're going to notice him. You're going to notice how you might not notice him because you don't really understand the game as well.
Hey, I covered Patrice Bergeron a decade ago.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people watch him. Did you cover him? Did you see the way he defends in the defensive zone, the way he does the face-offs, all the little things? I
watched him engineer
he's
that
driving the play
against the Maple Leafs.
He's driving the play.
They were down, I think, 3-1.
Right.
No, I think they were down 4-1 in the third period with like 5 minutes to go. They came back and won in Game 7. It was, I mean, again, when I talk about those guys and I talk about like Duchesne and Granlund, they're just not the same.
Well, that's my point,
kind of
is what I'm saying. These guys are driving the team. The Preds need our big guys driving the team.
What do you make of?
It's not going to be all the time. I'm not expecting them to be Patrice Bergeron, but,
Hal Gill's with us. What do you make of the coach and the situation that the team finds itself in right now after the loss the other night? I mean, this could be – I heard Willie today. He said he's around the team every day, and he doesn't think that the team has quit on the coach, and he thinks the coach is doing a good job. But this could be a rough couple. I mean, this is a good – obviously, it's the best team in the league tonight. A good team on Saturday. And a good team that hasn't played up to the standards that they thought they were going to play up to in Florida. And then if you do think this team can make the playoffs, Sunday's game against Minnesota is absolutely humongous. This could be a rough week. And I wonder what that means for the coach and the belief and everything else for the guys in the room.
Yeah, and every player and every coach, every GM knows the situation they're in, and they know this is a rough week. That's why I say if this doesn't get your attention, there's something wrong with you.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately, here's a breakdown, right? The players play the game. If the players aren't playing to their best level, it's on the player ultimately. Ultimately, it's on him. Now, the GM signed that player, so now it becomes on the GM because he signed the player and he hired a coach to coach that player. So now he has to make the decision, is it the player that's a dog and he's not playing, or is it the coach? And how do I rectify that and get the player, or is it on the GM for signing the player? And they all know that, and they're all looking at each other going, who's it going to be? But ultimately, the player needs to go out, perform, and that's the bottom line. How they get there is the challenge. So, I'm sure David Poyle, if you got him with some truth serum, he'd tell you, this is a bad contract. I gave this guy too much, or I got a great deal on this guy because I'm getting a lot more
I think
than
David
I thought.
Poyle with some truth serum on the Stillman and Company show would be the best interview of all time.
And John Hines is looking, and if he's talking honestly, he's saying, I mismanaged this player, but I've managed this player well. How do I get this guy back, and how do I get him to – and the player, if they're being really honest – they're going to tell you, and I can only relate to being a player because that's all I know. I know when I'm not performing. I know when I haven't given what I should be giving. I also know when I've been overperforming and say, hey, I need more money and I need more ice time. So everyone's aware of what's going on. It's just a matter of how you fix it and how do you make it come together, and whether that's a GM change or a trade or a buyout or a coach getting fired. We've seen it all around. There's blame to go around for everyone here. Ultimately, you have to go out there and play the game tonight, and that's where I think you get hung up is you're looking at the big picture. You're looking at the whole story. You're talking about a week down the road. The Preds should be aware that they're playing the best team in the NHL tonight, and that should be the only thing they're thinking. How am I going to be a game changer? How am I going to help this team win a game?
I totally agree. Hal Gill's with us because, my frustrations aren't just about this week or this year. I mean, it goes back to last year, and that should not be what the players are thinking about. Hal Gill's with us.
Right.
If I were to pull up John Hines' Wikipedia page, and I were just to go over the resume as is on the Wikipedia page, and the lack of winning over his tenure in the NHL, what would not be fair to him as far as the results he's gotten compared to the kind of coach that you think he is?
I don't understand you.
Okay, so he's got a track
record. And I'm not
record.
just saying right now, but I don't understand.
So he's never won anything. In 7 years of being a coach in the NHL, he's never won a playoff series.
I think he did a phenomenal job last year. I thought he did a phenomenal job last year.
Take me through it.
He got a team that maybe wasn't supposed to get. You had career years from 7 guys. Guys just jumped off the page. He got the team and ended up losing to Colorado, the best team in the league, in the playoffs. But he did a phenomenal job. Now, he has guys that are underperforming.
What did he do, though, last year that motivated those guys to play that way?
They played a heavy, hard game. They had a buy-in to compete. And last year what we went through is fighting for each other. They're the most physical team in the NHL. They've retooled to try to be faster this year, and I think John Hines has put in, switching forechecks and trying to adapt to be faster, to counter quicker, because I feel like the NHL, that heavy game in the playoffs hasn't been the recipe for success the last couple of years. Teams are faster and moving quicker and executing faster, so I think he's tweaked his game, and I think some guys haven't quite caught up to that. I don't think they're embracing that change, and ultimately it's the higher end guys that need to, compete with that level and turn that into production that they had last year. But I think John Hines has done a phenomenal. Now, it hasn't been roses this year, and he's had better parts. You added Niederreiter, and you added McDonough, which should make your team better. The team should be in a better place to compete night in and night out, and they haven't gotten to that point. But I don't put that on John Hines. I put that on everyone, really.
Mm-hmm. Hal, go with us. Last one for you. What is it like right now where things are? I mean, I watched the Behind the Glass documentary in which, John Hines was preaching to the team, we need to have expectations and we need to be talking about doing something in the playoffs at training camp. And now to just see where it is and just the negativity and what's that like inside the group when you are with the team or around the team or things like that?
I think you're talking from your experience,
sure,
and you're negative.
I am very skeptical.
You have
especially
not.
This time,
I've been on your show for the whole year. When have you ever said, "Wow, that guy's a good player. What a great"? Yusuf Parsonen was a 7th round pick. When have you asked me like, "Wow, that's amazing that he is playing in the NHL after playing 10 games in Milwaukee"? He's come in. He's just turned 22 years old.
In 2018,
we had very friendly interviews 5
years ago.
So the negativity is coming from you. I think in the locker room and in this team, they realize that it's a battle every night, and they realize, okay, Arizona, we played a okay game. We need to get to a better place, but they're not tucking their tails and pouting. They're not going on the ice the next day and saying, "Oh, we're the worst," the way you would portray it. They're going out, and I think the negativity is around you.
You think I'm the only negative part about it?
No, I think there's hey, I'm on Twitter, and I see the people, and I laugh at the asinine things that I hear on Twitter. I don't acknowledge it because I know it's uninformed. And I feel like you're grasping at, and I just said it's 3 to 5 wins. They're right there, and it's 3 to 5 wins, and they're in the 3rd spot, not even a wild card. They're in the 3rd spot if they get 5 wins, and that's a fine line between winning and losing. So I think they have to be positive. You can't go out there and go, we're not the team. We're not doing the things we should be doing this year. We suck this year.
I agree.
If you go out and play the Boston Bruins like that, you are going to get steamrolled.
If John Hines were to walk out to the podium and say,
you need to turn the page.
That would be bad.
You need to turn the page and go and play. And so I believe I know that they think they have a team that can win. They're just trying to bottle it and find a way to go on a run. They had 3 games before the All-Star break that they looked like that team. And they were going, and then they took time back. They haven't been that team again, but they know it's there. And so they're looking tonight to go against the best team in the league and try to prove that they can compete and they can be that team.
Hal Gill, as always, the positivity, the sunshine that we needed today before this big game. Always.
Are you going to watch the game and just watch it?
I'm sitting in my seats tonight. I sat in my seats the other night, and I said no socializing. I needed to watch the game, and I watched the Arizona game. And it was hard for me at times not to bury my head in my phone because it was kind of boring. It was like a boring game.
When you're watching, just try to watch to see, if you want to say that the Preds played poorly or played well, just try to, next time we talk, try to have a reason why you thought. Look at the game and say, okay, the forecheck wasn't effective or the D-zone structure was amiss. Ask me next time about, their defensive zone structure. What did you see on that play? I want you to study the game and say, okay, why are they winning or why are they losing? Can you do that for me?
I will ask you that question next week.
That's your homework.
Hal Gill, as always, on the program. Predators Game Day's next.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
3 ball, yes sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
Hal Gill here for my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
You can trek through the savannas of Africa. Wait on the magic moment
on the Great Plains of North America, or find the thrills of Patagonia. You can book your dream hunt at the SEI Convention, coming to Nashville for the very first time. Come find your adventure February 22nd through February 25th. It's the ultimate sportsman's market, a place for every hunter. And this year, it's happening Music City style, with sold-out performances by Big and Rich and Leonard Skinner. But you can still find your outdoor adventure and rock out with the Frontman with Gretchen Wilson. It's a celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, February 22nd through February 25th. Come find your adventure. Just log on to safariclub.org. One more time, that's safariclub.org. This convention will sell out, so reserve your spot today. Come find your adventure.
This week at the Electronic Express President's Day sale, get instant savings of up to 40% off at every department, including all 4K TVs, laptops and tablets, housewares, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't forget, we have up to 50% off all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Shop the President's Day sales event at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
The National Wild Turkey Federation is celebrating 50 years of conservation delivery during this year's convention and sports show, set for February 16th through 18th at Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Come celebrate the golden anniversary with members, volunteers, partners, and countless outdoor enthusiasts. You can expect the same great nightly events, quality entertainment in the watering hole, and the latest gear from more than 450 companies featured in their exhibit hall. For more info, go to nwtf.org.
The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officers. Earn $52,500 after paid training and probation. Positions are available immediately. You must be 21 and over with a high school diploma or GED. Come, join our family. That's $52,500 with great benefits. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. Earn $52,500. Stop searching. Apply now. The Nashville Sheriff.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose
I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get...
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's Hockey Night in Smashville.
Deflects back for Duchesne. His shot stopped and the score!
What are the keys to victory tonight? What's being said in the locker room? Where do the Preds reside in the Central Division standings? Jared Stillman has the latest now. With Preds Game Day on Stillman and Company. This is Smashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Predators Game Day is presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. TJ Anderson is my realtor. You know I absolutely love him. He's taking care of 2 home purchases for me, and he can do the exact same for you. I never hesitate when it comes to referring my friends to TJ Anderson. Also, TJAndersonHomes.com. They've got all the tools, what's coming available soon, what's out there on the market, good tools to work with. That's TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, online at TJAndersonHomes.com. The Bruins are the best team in the NHL at 48-5, good for 85 points. The Predators 20-25-6, good for 56 points. Coach John Hines after the loss on Tuesday.
It's important that you can't sit in that game. I mean, it was very disappointing, that type of a loss. And, no one wears it harder than the players, to be honest with you. And I think it's understanding, I think there's certain times, you could have, like the Vegas game was, that was one where you're a little bit harder. The intensity of effort and things like that wasn't what it needed to be. The Arizona game that's a stinger. So I think it's important to recognize what the game was. But, for us, you can't get caught in that game too long. You have to take the lessons out of it. You got to move on. And, we have to get to our game against this team, which is really important, and that's the approach that we took.
There you go. Time to take a look at the wild card standings for the Predators. They are 5 points out with 3 games in hand on Calgary, 3 games in hand on Minnesota, who's also tied right there, and they'll play on Sunday. Max Hers has your pregame show. That is next. Stillman and Company. We'll have a full breakdown of this and everything else tomorrow at 2 o'clock. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.